a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Nedrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, as this is being recorded, at least on a Friday, we seem to have quite a few people in Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them, and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Blessings of fatherhood. Who's on board?
Buster 2, another version of Neil, Ryan, Sam, and Steve.
All right. Neil's got many faces.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
What do I have there now?
Hello.
Your incognito is not so cognito, Neil.
What's coming up? No more picture?
No, got you. All good.
All good.
Whatever it's doing on its own, because I'm not doing anything.
You got AI taking over already. What's going on, Neil?
Nothing much. Same old thing.
Same old thing. Car running? Everything good?
No.
No.
I can tell you that without him even answering. No.
Cars just going local.
Well, that's okay. Just don't take it long distance. It's just going local. No, that wasn't funny enough. Oh, good shows, Nathan. The last few good topics, in-depth debates and conversations.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch them back. I sort of joined at the beginning and at the end just to thank people for watching and encourage them to share the show. Just able to. Stuck it on and then been distracted with children and various other things.
Yeah. Catch your sleep when you can and take care of them.
I haven't got any.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
I'm on the edge of exhaustion, to be honest. But you know, that's one of the reasons I don't record the show at the weekend. I just release the ones that are pre-recorded that haven't been viewed by a public audience, like the member-only videos. They get released at the weekend, and it's because if I was doing 7 days a week like Irwin, it would reach this point, and then I would go into actual exhaustion. You know, I my body well enough to know how knackered I am, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know. What you're describing has happened to me on several occasions where my body's telling me, shut down. I go, okay, I'm done. I got zero energy, zero.
Not that I'm moaning.
No, it's reality. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I mean, you got Irwin doesn't have kids who are teething, and he's a young. His whole surroundings is different than yours. I mean, kids. My daughter's got 4 kids under 7, so she's exhausted all the time.
Don't envy her.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I mean, she's here on the property with us, so we help out a lot. So that's
it's
how I know these things.
simultaneously the most exhausting thing you can do and the most wonderful thing you can do at the same time. So
Isn't
I'm
that
not
the
complaining.
truth? Isn't that the truth? Yeah, kids are great. Yeah, that was interesting with Mr. Sensible coming on yesterday, denying he said what he said, and then we playing it back to him. And then he said we did it out of context because there was more. But you can listen to the whole thing. There isn't more.
Oh, they're proper weasels, aren't they? It does make me smile.
I mean, I remember when Mitchell released that debate, and I can't believe it. I'm saying, how can the guy say that? And to this day, he's denying it, but it's recorded. I mean, it's just crazy.
He seemed fairly green to YouTube when he first showed up, and then a couple of months into his very green existence on YouTube, he's debating what is essentially a very well-established, very well-read flat earther, that would be Mitchell from Australia. Bad mistake.
Yeah, obviously. My kids are flat earthers, obviously, and they went to, I don't know, kind of like a 2-day retreat with their friends. Yeah, it was a house, kind of like what do you call those things now? Where you rent someone else's house. And they had a pool and everything. So kind of a getaway. And they took all their kids. And so there were 4 different families. 2 of the families are flat earthers. 2 of the families are not flat earthers. And the stories I got back when they came back, shared to me by my wife, because she already talked to them, was that they debated the whole subject in bits and pieces throughout the whole 2.5, 3 days there. And push come to shove, one of them says, yes, you're right. I am not open. I won't entertain it. And I'm totally against it because they just argue against flat earth with no facts. But at least he was honest enough to say it.
It's a pulverizing, what do you call it?
Moment.
To the word.
Pulverizing moment when you debate it.
Oh, the whole thing of flat Earth, and it really is pulverizing.
To some people, it didn't pulverize me. I had to purposely think.
Me either. But I did harass my brother at first. I was hitting him with all the questions that we get hit with. What about NASA? What about satellites? Like this went on for about 2 weeks of me working with him. But then I would go home and like search it out. Then I did a couple of observations on my own. And I started like, wow, we ain't on a globe.
I'd like to hope.
Some people.
I was just going to say, I'd like to hope that the show actually does consistently offer arguments that people can take and present to other people.
Those are the housekeeping questions, Nathan.
Yeah, if you like. Yeah. I'm just saying the talking points or housekeeping questions or top 3 or whatever it may be offer something that I felt I wanted and that wasn't available to me. You know, a place where you can get actual consistent answers about the troubling questions at the time that I was being asked that I didn't have answers to. You know, didn't recognise any of the fallacies, didn't recognise any of the making the question. I didn't recognise any of it. So you just end up stuck in a just justifying your model that you don't adhere to and things like that. And, you know, I hope that this specific channel, whichever one you're watching on, Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley 1980, actually does offer that to the audience, where they can listen, hear the argument, understand the argument because it's repetitive, and then go forth and say, here you go, whoever it may be, Neil's brother in this example, and say, this is the argument.
It does. That's why I love listening to the same question and hearing different people respond. And we say the same answer, maybe from a different viewpoint, because maybe that person brought up something the last person didn't bring up. And it gets started my day, that's for sure.
No, this is the show. When I stumbled on this show, shout out to David Weiss. That was it for me.
Because it met what Nathan explained that he was looking for before he came up with the show. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get in. When I was looking, you got into a lot of speculation, a lot of people talking about their models, people offering their alternative explanations, and then you come across someone like QE, and I wasn't paying enough attention. I was watching his shows. I was watching him and Conthexus do their broadcasts, whilst arguing in the chat and not really paying that much attention, as everybody does. But by that token, you think, well, no, I would imagine that on at least a surface level, if you were inquisitive about this subject, you'd come here and go, hang on, this seems to have good points, good talking points that I can take away and present to somebody else in my own way, and not suddenly just get annihilated by a load of globe earth reversal of burden of proof. End up sitting there justifying azimuthal equidistant projections. Hopefully people come away from me and go, no, I understand that there's no necessity for me to start justifying a flat earth model I don't claim or haven't made.
Precisely. What's interesting is how can I put it? Well, let me just say what I'm going to say. There's a word I'm trying to get that says it. But see, the ballers say they have undeniable globe proofs. We say, great, bring them on. And then they meet up with our housekeeping questions. Let's just use the top three because those are basically concerned with the globe itself. So here you got, is there any Earth-based Coriolis for your undeniable globe proofs? Second, how can you have gas pressure without any container? How do you get gas pressure next to a vacuum? That expressly is a part of their globe model because they say we're next to outer space and we're an open system. And then number one, well, if we are a globe and we already know the radius, you get the circumference from it, then it's very simple to figure out where Earth curve starts at any elevation that you look from. And we have the black swan, and basically prior to black swan, we used to say, we see too far for it to be a globe. We just see too far. So those three are so devastating. So when the baller says they have undeniable globe proofs, I haven't heard one. I haven't heard one undeniable globe proof. It's just words, but nothing to back it. Hey, Flatzoid.
Hey.
Yeah, it's just a belief in a cold system that isn't true.
Yeah, like this morning on 24/7, a kid comes on and he starts talking to him. First they were explaining gas pressure out of container, and then he goes into satellites and cars in space, and I was like, wait a second, you're talking about a fake region here. Why are you entertaining any of this?
Some people haven't made that connection yet, Neil. They hear the gas pressure without a containment argument in its relation to outer space as a vacuum, but they only hear it in isolation. They don't recognise that, therefore, any claim from that region is therefore fake. You can use that argument to debunk literally anything that NASA claim from that place.
Yeah, but in time past, I would have entertained all of that. But, from being on this show, listening, learning, you cut it off. I told him, I said, let's cut this off right at the root. And then we went into the whole thing. How there can't be a car in space. Not that the rubber would melt or what would happen to the fuel. It should be boiling.
Yeah, that's what they want to argue about. Would the tyres explode in a place that doesn't exist? Let's discuss theoretically whether or not the tyres would explode in a place that isn't real. Like, no, I don't want to argue about whether or not rockets can push off a vacuum or whether or not tyres would explode in a fake place. It's a fake place. Can't exist, because if it was real, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would vacate. We would never need to breathe. It's just that simple. It's entropy. So you debunk the notion of a sky vacuum. Why bother arguing about whether or not rockets are in a place that doesn't exist? It's pointless.
I'll tell you, it is pointless in the sense that it is a big old trick that they've played on everybody. But for the newbies, you need to do what you just said. Say it's a fake place. It doesn't exist. We don't need to argue because it can't be there. But if you were, don't you find it funny that the tires aren't exploding? See, this is the trickery. And then they're going to want to go there. They're going to want to go there. But he said, no, I didn't say that to go there. I said that so that you wake up from your dream. Because to hear a Globie say, hey, yeah, you're right. The dashboard would melt. The tires would explode. The paint would be peeling. How come that ain't happening over there where it's 4,000 degrees?
No, because then they get into how they
the trolls
made the
do.
car a certain way that it won't do that. Cut that crap off right at the head. Demonstrate gas pressure without a container first.
Yeah, I agree, Neil. I agree. Why entertain whether or not your paint would flake off in a fake place? It's like discussing whether or not the gas lamp in Narnia would function as it does based on the time dilation issue. Let's argue all day about how the gas behaves from that lamp in Narnia. No, why? It's a fake place. It doesn't exist. It's not real. So why am I going to argue about whether or not the paint would flake off in a fake place? I can debunk the place it's supposed to be. So therefore, whatever they claim is in that place, in this case a car, doesn't exist. It's not real. It's obviously not real. You're only going to look at it to know it's not real. But if you're deluded and think the sky is a vacuum and they say that's in the sky vacuum, somewhere you're never going to go because it doesn't exist, then you're going to believe it because that's your bias. But it doesn't mean I have to argue about whether or not the car would lose its paintwork or tyre pressure. It's irrelevant to the fact that that place it's supposed to be in doesn't exist.
Well, I do both. I do both carefully. That's why I tried to tell Neil no at the beginning. Because for the newbie who's not a troll, it's easy to get them to our position real quick. If it's a troll, they want to stay in space with the paint flaking. So I wouldn't do it with a troll whatsoever. I'd just cut him off at the knees because he's a troll. But the newbies need that little extra slap in the face. Hey, yeah, why am I believing this? It is fake. Because if it was, tires would blow up. I mean, they need something else.
You don't want to let it go. Fair enough. you want to use that with the normies. Fair enough. It's your bag.
Yeah, I'm just saying it depends on the person I'm talking about because now he's violating something else that his brain will keep him uncomfortable or his mind will make him uncomfortable that night. Here I was arguing the space and this guy said it's a fake place. And yet, while I'm arguing that it's real, unreal stuff is happening. Like a production car, as they said that all it was, is able to act like some seasoned super metal and no flaking of paint. Well, that was a stupid argument I told that flat earther. I want him to go to bed with that one too.
Some people like to play with the snake instead of cutting the head off.
So, Tink, are you a real person?
I am a human being.
Prove it.
Let's see. Wait till Irwin comes on. It'll be proven real quick.
Don't be like that. You and Irwin, what's with this?
Irwin's like my little brother. I mean, he loves to tease me and I like to tease him. We have no problems. It's just fun to go back and forth with him.
I think you're too... I'm guilty of the same thing, 10th, but you're too quick to cut him off when he's trying to make an example that's farcical, because at the end he will actually generally summarise why it's farcical, but you'll cut him off and give the reason when he's going to the same place. I think that's his actual beef.
No, okay. That has happened, I admit. But now, from now on, next time Irwin and I are going, just listen to how he does. It looks like he's finishing a statement, but he's really not. But it sounds like he got to an end point. Then I come in, and he keeps talking. And then, okay, he's done now. And I come in, he keeps talking. I go, man, will you just say I'm done? Because I don't know when you're going to stop.
Yeah, that's just Darwin, though, isn't it? I mean, if you take someone like Adam or... Adam's a good example. He's very deliberate in what he says, but he will also pause to think about what he's going to say next. That's just his pattern of speech. Now, because Adam does that mid-sentence, it's a bit more clear that he's finished, whereas Irwin will make a conclusory statement, pause, and then start again with his actual point, having concluded a statement that preempts his actual point. And then he'll get frustrated because he's left a small pause. Someone started talking. He's then going on to make his conclusory statement. So it's just one of those. It's the same.
No, it's just
Nick, the guy did the fundraiser for, very, very similar. So he'll get to the end of his point, he'll stop, but then he's actually got an actual point to make beyond what he's just concluded, and then stopped, paused, taken a breath, thought for a moment, and then continued. So you've been around him long enough to know that's just how Irwin is, right?
Oh, I know. That's why I have fun with him. He's like a little brother, like I said, especially in the after show. Him and I cracking up with each other. It's fun.
Fair enough. I don't want him moaning about it. That's all.
Part of the fun.
He's not having fun. I know it. I can tell by his tone. I wouldn't bring it up otherwise. I can tell by his tone. If it keeps happening, he'll get literally pissed off, and I just can't deal with it. I don't want it for Irwin. I don't want to stress Irwin. I don't want it.
Irwin smash.
Oh, Irwin's ace. That's all I say.
That's the thing at the moment. Irwin's absolutely on fire. Typically, if you were doing this and he was just making his conjecture, I'd be like, I wouldn't even mention it. But he isn't. He's absolutely on fire at the moment. Not.
Well,
go on.
Let me tell you something. It took me a while to figure out about Irwin and the way he communicates. He has a brilliant mind. Number one, it works in ways that mine doesn't. And what he does, at least to my assessment of him, is that he'll go into his imaginary world while being in the real world, but won't tell us he went to his imaginary world. And so now I'm thinking he's making a real world statement, but he really just jumped and played devil's advocate without telling me he played devil's advocate. And then as the thing calms down later, he'll say, oh yeah, that was just all imagined. That wasn't real. That was just something that I had to say because that's how some people feel or believe. I said, well, you didn't make I thought that's what you believed. He says, no, I was arguing their point. But he does it in such a way where you think it's really his point.
The best example of it is when he was debating gravity with Anthony. And gravity's not my thing. I just think it's easy to brush it to one side, and I do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can debunk it quickly. Anthony wants to go into the begging the question fallacy. I don't need to rehash our differences in that regard. But Irwin and Anthony, very different minds, very different way of describing and thinking about things, debating about gravity, was fantastic. Everyone around me hated it. They were like, oh, not another Irwin sleeping warrior tete-a-tete about gravity. It's like, no, this is ace. I'm getting somewhere. And towards the end, it kind of, they came to a harmonious description about what was actually occurring. It spurred on conversations between Quantum Eraser and Dr. John D. and Adam that I was privy to listening to. It was a really, really interesting time. And it was all spearheaded by Irwin, right? Same thing applies recently. I was using terminology for how the black swan annihilates the argument. And I was saying the model implodes upon itself because you can't derive a geometric horizon if you can't see it. Therefore, you can't measure R, etc., etc. Irwin comes along and just says it's a paradox and then detailed why. Like I'd just detailed, but slightly more concise. But he used the word paradox. And you're like, yeah, you can't derive something to move something if you can't measure something. In this case, the geometric horizon. Therefore, it's a paradoxical model. You're like, what Irwin injects are moments of genius to the show. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There is quite a lot of fluff and conjecture from Irwin. Which, I hate that. I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to be lying about whether or not it irritates. It does irritate me. It doesn't change the fact that the result that he comes to at the end of it is very, very worthwhile. So that's one of the reasons I like Irwin, because he does think very differently to me, to you, to Sleeping Warrior, to Paul. He's just got a very different way of viewing things. And yeah, occasionally it can become irritating, and I'm sure the audience occasionally gets irritated by him. He gets irritated by himself. He'll even verbalise that, right? So it's just one of those that I don't know. I don't like to see him getting flustered and frustrated because he's just trying to get his points about. Especially when he's, in the last couple of weeks, he's been absolutely on fire, just making really good points, summarising stuff really concisely, demolishing stuff at the end of a tete-a-tete, and going, "This is the actual summary." Very chocolate-esque.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the mind of Irwin.
I never look at that as you just use the word. See, any question is a good question on this topic, and if you're playing both roles at the same time, that's fun too. It just causes me to think, okay, if I do hear this in the real world one day, how am I going to answer? So I'm going to take it on now with, say, Irwin. Now, whether he's doing it as a, play on words or he's really serious, that comes out at the end. So I'm not irritated at all with Irwin whatsoever. I enjoy the conflict. I like the wrestling match of the minds.
Yeah, but he gets irritated with you.
Well, that's not my problem. I don't get irritated. I like the table full of food. I like, okay, we're done with this one. Let's take this point on. And it may end up just being a laughter, or it could be that you find something like, disequilibrium and relative density, or equilibrium, right? You may come up with something that, hey, this is what it is. This describes it better.
At least we've got the common decency to discuss him behind his back when he can't hear.
Yeah, we'll tell him to listen to the pre-show because we were talking behind his back. He'll go listen to it 5 times, come back at us the next day with good arguments.
I don't think we've challenged any of his actual discussion points or arguments or claims here. Just talking about Irwin in general, which is kind of a bit, he's not here. It's very personal. It's being recorded. But by the same token, these aren't things we don't say to him personally. So I'm not in the slightest bit concerned that he's going to listen to any of this and go, "God, you guys are slagging me off behind my back." No, I don't think so.
Let me set the record straight. I love Irwin.
I love Irwin too. I think he's ace. Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's up for debate. Both of us think he's ace. Anyway, I'm going to start the live show. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall, 10th man. We've got Neil, Flatzoid, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello? Gonna get any enthusiasm from Discord? Hello, people in Discord?
Hello.
Well, hello, skeptical. Any more for any more? Any more enthusiasm in terms of greetings for the live show? Clearly not.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very good to have you all. Right, let's crack on with a bit of housekeeping. any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from the Black Swan's viewpoint.
Damn satellites.
Hello.
Satellites. Any evidence
Hey,
that you can have?
brother.
Any evidence
Sorry,
you can
I
have?
keep losing reception.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container if you're going to claim satellites in space?
While I'm breathing.
Only
so
the assumption that you don't need a container to have gas pressure will virtually seem like proof that it can be possible.
Say that again.
Well, it's
No.
Okay.
it's kind of funny. And go ahead and ask your next question regarding gravity, Nathan, and I'll bring up something that came up in Discord yesterday.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yesterday in Discord, so I'm getting an echo of feedback from somebody. Daily T, was actually starting to think about, gas pressure and this downward vector that they always talk about. And it was actually funny. The more he kept talking, Neil, you were on there, weren't you? Weren't you listening, or was that Steve? I was thinking of it. Might have been listening. But ultimately, he started realizing that there is no true downward vector when it comes to gas particles, because they're almost the net. He called it net vector zero. Basically, when it comes to gas particles, there's nothing that is mostly downward vectored when it comes to gas. And it was wonderful to hear him kind of start realizing, no, there's this. I may be wrong. I don't get this is not right. It was funny. The more he kept talking, and Zanuck and Chaiki were both, they just didn't know what to say. And it was Danny doing the undermining. It was kind of crazy. That's why I texted into Master B about it, or into Master B about it yesterday. I said hoping we could get on before it ended. It was good.
see, when it finally clicks, then I actually realize something's really wrong.
Maybe. Subconsciously.
So are you saying, Paul, that while he was trying to debate the point as a winning point for his side, his mind actually simultaneously was saying, wait a minute, it doesn't work that way. So it was conflict.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because if the gravity statement is true, like the downward vector, then most of the gas particles, their downward vector should be down. If you just start plotting them out, they should be mostly down. And he started realizing that that's not true. Gas particles go in all vectors in all directions at all times. There's no one mostly downward vector for gas particles.
Gee, I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah, me.
Oh, I know.
Gas,
Yeah.
gas does not go down, go boom boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank. Just because retards like Thunderfoot assert it to audiences of almost 1 million people doesn't make it so. That's not gas behaviour. That's retard behaviour. Thunderfoot, that is. A retard that asserts that gas go down, go boom boom with a downward vector when he pours a solid into a fish tank. No, gas expands at high speeds in all directions, all vectors, not mostly down. Not 9.8 meters per second squared. All vectors.
Then, of course, about 5 minutes later, he reasserted gravity again. I was like, oh my goodness, Danny. He's like, no, the cognitive dissonance just would not let go. You could not let it go.
I keep saying it's down to the 5 stages of loss. So if you've gone through the denial and the anger stage and you're at the bargaining stage, you've really got 3 choices, not 2. Choice number 1 is obviously move on to depression. Oh my God, I was wrong. Gas isn't going down, go boom boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank, even though Thunderfoot told me that was the case. If you start moving on, then that's a relinquishment of your argument. They don't want to do that. So the other 2 choices, I've previously said it's only 1, which is to regress to anger. But they could stay in the same position, right? Stay in the bargaining stage. And how can they do that? Well, they just reassert their claim again. So you annihilate their claim. And what do? They reassert it 5 minutes later after there's been a bit of obfuscation and distraction. Just say it again. So then you go around the same circle debunking it. If you're tolerant of that nonsense, which we're getting less and less so here. Don't let them reassert the same argument 10 times anymore.
And that right there is the origin of you just don't understand.
You just don't
We have to say it
understand.
again and again and again. There you go.
I'll repeat it so you understand. I'll ignore your rebuttal and repeat it 10 more times. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to the point
Yep.
where I just tell them I don't have time for time wasters anymore. Carry on with the same thing, I just block.
Yeah, exactly. They're wasting your time because they're only trying to appeal to their own cognition that they're right still when it's been debunked and they've ignored it. So by reasserting it, it's almost like it hasn't been debunked. Delusional. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Don't all go at once.
Well, that was
It's
silence
first
was
to be signed.
the silence was the answer. None.
First, let's be scientific.
That is one of the most embarrassing aspects of the globe model. There's no science for it. They'll go around barking about science and calling themselves scientists, and there isn't any. How embarrassing.
Can I talk about that part? I think that part we've covered before, but it's a good topic. You hear it on news clips on YouTube concerning the current situation. No one believes the science, or if it's global or climate change, global warming as it was once called. You don't believe the science, and we're just saying, well, show us the science. But then when they come to show the science, there's no science.
Yeah, there's mathematics, abstractions, and reifications only. No science.
Well, because they're confused of what science is. They think pseudoscience is science.
Yeah, and when you debunk their pseudoscience claims, they tell you that what they thought was science, actually, as you identify pseudoscience, they tell you that science doesn't prove anything, having mistaken their pseudoscience for science, which they don't have.
So weird being told science doesn't prove things after we were told science proves the globe. That's
Embarrassing.
a hell of a switch.
Just embarrassing,
That's
isn't
why
it?
they said that.
Yeah, just embarrassing. Hey, Adam, good to have you.
Afternoon, everyone. You all right, guys?
Very well, very well.
Oh,
Hello,
so
Adam.
good. I was Nottingham.
Right. But Chocolate, it's exactly about that. Science proved the globe. Science doesn't prove anything. These two statements are basically a declaration. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah. Same difference.
Wow, that's true.
Science proves the globe. Oh, but science doesn't prove anything. So you prove nothing. Awesome.
Well, we proved
So
that
they're telling.
we proved they're science deniers. The globe believers. Michael from Vsauce, declarations that science doesn't prove things. Yeah, it does. You just didn't have any. You only had pseudoscience that you believed was science. And your pseudoscience proves nothing. Science, on the other hand, has advanced humanity by establishing cause of natural phenomena. That's its purpose. It's empirical. It absolutely cause and effect relationship will be validated at the end by way of a hypothesis. Validation. Either your null or your alternative will be validated, proven. That's what it does. It's its only purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, just science deniers on the globe side. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. Again, about the science, by the way.
With helium balloons.
Could they be just called science revolutionaries? They're trying to create a revolution in science by literally undoing it.
No, there's a term for it. They're pseudoscientists, and what they are claiming is pseudoscience. It's already defined. A claim of science where there hasn't been an application of the scientific method. That's pseudoscience. That's what they actually have by definition.
Right, but they're not just wrong. They're trying to take it over. They're trying to take over the concept and replace it with their concept, with their pseudoscience. So doesn't that make them science revolutionaries?
No, it makes them pseudoscientists, as it's already defined. Didn't I just say
But
that?
do
10
all
seconds?
pseudoscience do all
Think
of
of
that?
how significant that is, though. Like, think of quotes like people like M. Scott Veach will say, "Oh, we don't need the scientific method." But like Nathan said, pseudoscience has been defined, right? Any belief or that has been mistakenly gone through the scientific method. So they're vying for pseudoscience. They're fighting for it.
Yeah, Armin's right. They say they have the higher science.
See how they are taught when you're growing up. What you're taught, pseudoscience is actual science, but it's not. Because when you're actually just taught the empirical method is.
Yeah, they've been told maths is empirical. And it's not empirical in terms of natural phenomena, the nature of reality, physics. That's a completely separate field. The maths, which is what they have.
All right.
So just because there's no proof of Earth rotation doesn't mean the Earth is not rotating, is where they'll go.
Well, no, because they'll then go on to beg the question. If Earth's rotating, and Earth's atmosphere, oxymoron, is rotating with it, well, number one, that doesn't give you a 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth rotates underneath, because they're claiming they rotate together, defying the claimed cause of the Coriolis effect they need to prove it's spinning. So they're immediately pissing in the face of their claimed proof that it spins. That would be Coriolis deviation at 15 degrees an hour as Earth rotates underneath. But they'll beg the question, well, if Earth's rotating and atmosphere's rotating with it, no, number one, you're begging the question fallacies thwarted by the fact that we've got multiple directions of surface winds. Also, it wouldn't give you 15 degrees an hour, the thing you need to prove it's spinning.
Your question is there any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, there isn't.
And when we ask for it, they have nothing.
Yeah, there is no evidence of axial rotation. Any claimed evidence that they present, i.e. not actual evidence, just nonsense, like bullets and footballs that have the Earth rotating underneath them, would imply that Earth's rotating underneath an inertial reference frame. And that plane that you're travelling on would have its flight time reduced because if it's travelling west and Earth's travelling underneath it, as is required for that claim, then the flight time's going to be reduced. Well, that doesn't happen. Move on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope. But it's over there. And it has an angular size, apparently. And it has an angular position in relation to the observer. And that's the data we have. Plus lumens, the amount of intensity of light reaching the surface.
That's a bit redundant. You said it's got an angular size, apparently. Angular size is apparent size, so it's got an apparent size, apparently.
Well, apparently was, that wasn't technical. Apparently,
I heard it too. I wasn't going to say. I know what you meant, though. It's funny.
So yeah, the sun has a not actual size, but it's asserted by the heliocentrists that it has an actual size based on an assumption that Venus has the same radius as the presupposed radius of Earth. Any evidence of the R value, the presupposition of Earth radius?
Black swan.
Refraction in their model requires
if you go
R.
in one direction continually, you'll end up at the same spot again. It's just in one direction. Oh, wait, the other two, east or west.
Irwin said a little delayed reaction to the axial rotation question. Go ahead, Irwin.
But this is an R1, so how else can you...
An R1? R1.
Just don't rumpus him. Hold on. Go ahead, Irwin.
This is an R-based proof. That's not really proof. But if you go in one direction, and you don't necessarily presuppose that you're moving in a circle, which would, then you would actually rotate slightly towards one direction if you'd be moving east or west, and you end up at the same spot. Now, a lot of globers can only imagine that is only possible because, it's on a sphere. They can't imagine that to happen any other way unless, if a standard flat earther would suggest, but it is in a circle on a disk, for which there's no real proof either that the equator line is circular. So it's a bit of a complicated question. It still doesn't prove an R, though, in a direct sense, but it does open up like this corner, like, but why is that possible then?
It's a good
Did
point.
you say equator line there?
I was just about to say, Adam, that's a very good point, Irwin. If you don't know the layout of the map and where it actually is, and what they give us is a spherical representation that's then transposed incorrectly onto flat maps as global projections, how are you supposed to know that the sun does actually move in that circular trajectory? How do you know that that is actually the... I've never even thought about it. How do you know it's in a circle? Well, it's in a circle on the AE map. So what?
Didn't used to be. On some of the polar drawn old ancient maps, the path of the sun's almost elliptical. See if I can dig one of them out.
What? I didn't even know that.
Are you saying there's truth in the lies?
For
when
me,
they
it's
tell us...
been a cornerstone for the conception of looping space.
Well,
east
I was
to
going to
west.
say heliocentric assertions of sort of egg-shaped orbits, right? Well, maybe there's a bit of truth in the lies. Not the orbit bit, obviously.
Yeah, that was my thought, Nathan, when I saw that. Oh, how would it be elliptical, that path?
Hmm.
Very
I posted
interesting.
an awesome thing in Master B this morning, but a guy took star trails, and on the star trails, he sees one light object standing still. It's not moving with the stars.
Very interesting.
Could it
Right.
just be the stars are moving?
Apparently.
Well,
That's what you observe.
Well, we're told that it's because we're on a ball that's moving, though. So what? How are the stars still moving?
Yeah,
And get
but
off the ball.
The point is that if it's a geostationary satellite, shouldn't it also be moving?
Yeah, it's moving. It's moving in lockstep with the presupposition that the Earth is turning. So the satellite's falling around the Earth at the rate that the Earth turns in their model. That's the assertion with the geosynchronous orbit. It's synchronous with the movement of their presupposition that Earth's turning. But yeah, you're right. You'd still see that light moving. No, would you? No, it
Maps
stays.
up, Nathan.
Say again.
The maps up.
Oh wow.
What is that?
It's quite an interesting old map. It's a British Empire map.
Whoa.
That's just it.
That's a really big Australia.
I've got it bigger now. Can you get it back up, please, Adam?
Yeah.
I can't see any of that.
It's Africa is to the east west close, and South Africa is all to the south, and Australia is way to the north there.
Yeah.
See?
So what is this? Where's this come from?
This is a. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Bit somewhere. The world plane and immovable. So it's a. Like I say, it's a British Empire map. It's talking about. I remember it talking about trying to ensure they conquer Afghanistan and the importance of it, the routes.
1800s, right? Judging by the style of text.
Yeah.
1800s?
1841, this says.
Okay. So it's still it's in the time frame that it's just the same propaganda-ridden map, right? I'm not decrying what you're showing us, Adam. I'm really sorry.
No. I don't disagree. It's from a reset time, post reset time, and it's at the inception of the globe. But this is described as a flat map, plain and immovable. Or Middleton's, there we go, pioneer map of the world, plain and immovable.
Think terminology. I wonder why the biblical reference in the title of the map, immovable, right? Like biblically describing it.
Yeah.
And plain.
Plane, I've got no issue with. That's accurate. We are on a plane.
Exactly.
And the plain part is just straightforward. Huh?
It's the immovable bit. Why? Yeah. contextually, that makes no sense. And while when you read it out biblically, you can understand the context. But why would you ascribe that to the map? Especially if
Is that maybe
Right.
is that maybe language against axial rotation, and someone put it that way?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm implying. Why would you call it immovable?
Biblically inspired. That seems pretty logical to assume.
Yeah,
Well, at that time, maybe whoever made this map or whatever organization got behind it, they were putting it there as because maybe they were in debates. The Earth is not rotating, and others were saying it is.
Oh, come on, 10th man. You know everybody knew the Earth was a ball for 500 years now. It's only recently the Flat Earth Society came out
So
of
the
nowhere.
So the Flat Earth Society is wrong? We're not moving?
I wasn't even thinking about it. Flat Earth
The
Society.
Flat Earth Society thinks that the Flat Earth disk is flying in an accelerated fashion up towards into space. So no, their Flat Earth is definitely moving.
I'd like their proof of that shit. Just
I
like
never
I like
brought
the
them
proof
up.
of the globe shit.
I just wish
Why am I-
we would start bringing the Flat Earth Society as their, how can I say, their research.
it's a convenient straw man for people to debunk. That's all it is. Right, I'm just going to read out Retro Bill Super Chat. Just read an article which references a home buying survey. The article goes on to say, quote, "This survey is not scientific, but the results make sense," end quote. Is this implying that surveys can be scientific? If it is implying that, Retro Bill, thanks for the Super Chat, first of all, then it's wrong. Because even though they may imply that you can have a scientific survey, no, you can't. Surveys aren't assessing the cause of natural phenomena. That would be science. Thank you for the Super Chat.
Well,
But wait a minute. Before this acceleration upward at 9 point whatever meters per second, I've actually heard the globers argue that because the ground will race up to your feet in that reference frame. You have
Yes.
to have a net force 0, so the ground does have to be rushing up. So the globers I've actually heard argue that case.
Yeah.
Not just the globers. I mean,
Einstein.
listen, exactly. Brian Cox, when he was describing Einstein's bending of space-time, he described it exactly like that. He said Einstein was saying that instead of the apple falling down to the earth, it was the earth moving up to meet the apple.
You know who
Bending
else
of
says that?
space-time.
Who else has got that? Hold
What
on.
about the other side of the earth?
Who else has got that as part of their narrative and model?
Flat Earth Society.
Flat Earth
Bang
Society.
on. Flat Earth Society. Right? So this
Yes, sir.
useful straw man that's presented as what we call controlled opposition, Flat Earth Society, has useful arguments for your average layman to debunk, but also plants the seeds of space and gravity as part of their rhetoric, not our rhetoric. Controlled opposition rhetoric.
I'll see if I can find it. Give me a sec.
Same rate too. Earth moving up as a disk with water spilling over the edge at 9.8 meters per second through space. That's the Flat Earth Society model. Something we do not in any way adhere to. Models are pseudoscience, space is fake, gravity is a reification fallacy. So we don't buy any of that nonsense. But if you're a Joe normal and you come across Flat Earth, you type it into a search engine, you come across them, you can quickly have a glance through some of their arguments. Some of them are fairly decent arguments. But like any controlled opposition, they can't base it all in total lies. They've got to give you some slither of truth, otherwise they won't seem credible. That said, some of their arguments will just be the useful strawman arguments they want flat earthers to have. Horizon arises to eye level. Not pointing out that the horizon's reified into a physical sphere edged by globe heads. That's what we do, because we're actually debunking the globe and not claiming reified models that we cannot possibly live on. We don't live on a model.
If I could read this paragraph from this map, it kind of sets it into context. It's saying the same thing. I'll just read this first bit. This map is the result of the very great intellectual effort, which, of the nature of inspiration, could alone be sufficiently powerful to lift my conception of the general lay of the continents out of the established, but totally erroneous arrangement given of the world as published on the globe itself, or its numerous representations as Mercator's charts and maps, all of which are found on the mischievous theory of a rotating Earth and a stationary sun. The configuration of the Earth as set forth as stationary and with a travelling sun is entirely different from the mere result of flattening out the globe. I throw great importance onto this because it is a point of the first political necessity for the able and safe control of the British Empire. It's been universally thought that the positions of the continents would be much the same on the stationary and extended Earth as a flattened out representation of the globe, whereas there is a great political difference of the first importance to England. So it's kind of saying there that they're up to something over there. It goes in a little bit more detail, but I think it's pointing out there's a physical difference between that.
Can we hear the little bit more detail? Can you read on?
Yeah. The very gravest interests of the British Empire have been sacrificed by years of neglect of this question of the shape of the Earth, in that Russia has been allowed to overrun the Caucasus and lately to obtain possession of Bantum and Kars, whereas the Caucasus, in hands friendly to Great Britain, offered us true commercial route to northern India, across the Caspian Sea and through Afghanistan, and further would have enabled us to become masters of the Caspian Sea and thus finally to hold Russia in check, befriend Persia and a sure and willing ally, command Afghanistan from both sides and remain the unquestioned and unquestionable ruler in Asia. All of this might have been lately attained. I regard it at once as a great calamity and a great punishment to this nation, that such a splendid opportunity of obtaining mastery of the world has been idly thrown away. Further, the loss of India is only too probably one of its future results. Truly the great curse mentioned in Isaiah chapter 29 verse 14 has fallen on this nation as a punishment for its idle and godless contempt of this sacred question of the Creator's handiwork. See Isaiah chapter 29 verse 14. And the understanding of the prudent men shall be hid. Had I been listened to long ago, the understanding of this prudent would not have been lost to this country. The calamity of Bantum and Kars in Russia's hands would have been impossible. I was for war with Russia from the very first, and I am for war with Russia now, to thoroughly regain the Caucasus and the Caspian Sea, with a true deference for India before the country is lost to England. I regard war against Russia as the nature of a holy crusade and as more and more necessary daily.
What? And when was this? This
Very
is not
interesting.
recent.
It's riddled with it's riddled with propaganda, right? But by the same token, it's still fascinating.
But from when was this? Is this like the Soviet Russia time or before?
As soon as there's an implication that there's conflict between these countries, I immediately start to haze over a little bit.
I know.
The point of the interest to me that I found, the reason I remember it is that the conflict is secondary. The purpose of what he's saying is that the maps are wrong. If you flatten out a ball, you don't get a proper geographical map of the place, and that's what's being hidden. The true significance of the Afghani areas and the Caucasus. There's something that when you stick it on a ball, the geography and its significance is hidden. They're losing something, and that's of detriment to the British Empire. Is
I see.
What
So,
I read it as that
I gotcha. So yeah, it's because I asked you to read out the rest. Yeah, it's a tertiary point to the actual example that you want to highlight, which is to say that yes, the political gain is the overarching point that they're making, but you're pointing out that they're saying the way the map layout isn't conducive to their dominance, which is telling for our tale that we're hunting here, right?
Yeah. The configuration of the Earth as set forth as stationary with the travelling sun is entirely different from the mere result of flattening out the globe.
Right. So they're saying this isn't a global projection. That's the second. That's only the second I've ever seen. The other's the map of Monday, which is not global projection. I don't know of any others that aren't.
it's labelled, look, the path of the sun. So they don't say equator. They label it as, and like I said, the initial bit that jogged me memory was that it is egg-shaped. Look, it's still got that kind of Gleason's-y over projection of South America. I mean, South America goes off at a different angle. There's still a circle in the middle. Look, I don't know what that is.
Is it just me, or does it resemble a dodo a little bit? That's just me. Quick shout out to Retro Bill. Why doesn't the FE Society mention that the other heavenly bodies must also be moving upwards? Thanks for the super chat. I don't know. I think they could just spin out the nonsense narrative for it to be debunked. And part of that narrative they want to weave into heliocentrism, especially when it's the weakest parts of their argument. So, in my humble opinion, gravity, the reification fallacy thereof, very weak aspects of their argument, and also the Earth curve edge. Well, they've got an edge with boats going over it, so they stick a boat going over a dramatic edge falling into space in their flat Earth model, because it distracts from the weak part of their non-geometric horizon that they don't have anymore. So I think that the Flat Earth Society serves more than one purpose, and if they've got a Swiss cheese argument, you can bet your bottom dollar that Swiss cheese argument will also point you back towards heliocentrism. So I can't give you a detailed answer of why they don't highlight the fact. I think the reason is specifically that they don't want you to actually think the Earth's flat. They're controlled opposition. They want to redirect you back into the original paradigm. Thanks for the super chat, Retro Bill.
If you want to relate that back to Brian Cox, I posted the video. It's in Master B. Go to about 1640. That should work.
Be careful when you mention dodo bird. Get people started.
He did it
Get it
purposely.
started.
But I have a question about the Flat Earth Society model. Like, do they even address outer space, as in, or do they have the heavenly bodies being inside of the Earth realm, like that? And that it's all like that, traveling with the Earth.
Should we call that? Should we call that the Flat Earth Society model, or should we call that the Einsteinian model?
No, but Einstein's, that's just the gravity conception that they used.
Okay. Still Earth rising upwards, right?
Right, but do they address the outer space and supposed heavenly bodies being out there outside? Or is that just the misconception that the media applies to them? Or do they say more like the 2050 model from the flat earthers at the beginning, the discers, like it's in the Earth realm moving with the Earth up into a completely void outer space? How does it work for them?
I don't know, man. You'd have to ask them. It's all nonsense.
Nobody knows?
No, none of us are like experts in the controlled opposition narrative. We just know where it's nonsense and where they're utilising heliocentrism to weave their narrative of flat Earth that isn't us.
Maybe Mark Sargent would know.
Nathan, did you find the video?
Couldn't find it. I didn't know what you were referring to.
Oh, no. Remember Brian Cox talking about the Earth moving up to meet the apple? Yeah, that's what I posted. It's in Master B.
Is it?
Or did I put it in Ballbusters?
I was going to say I couldn't see it at 1640. Have you just posted it again though? Is this what you've just posted? Master B.
Yeah, the last thing I posted.
Okay. Is it time stamped or?
No, just.
There it is.
You gotta go to 1640, basically.
Okay.
Modern cosmology is based on Einstein's theory of general relativity, which is a theory of gravity. So in that sense, the ambition of the theory was no greater, really, than Newton's. It was to describe how objects move in gravitational fields. Newton said it's an apocryphal story, actually, but Newton said there's an apple fell onto his head. Why did it fall onto his head? Because there's a force pulling it down, and that force is proportional to the product of the mass of the Earth and the mass of the apple and the square of the distance between them. So that was the first universal
Just add at this point that is now superseded, 105 years out of date, labelled incorrectly, Newtonian gravity. Actually, Reverend John Michell, Cavendish gravity.
Law of nature, 1687. So a great step forward. In 1915, based on thoughts that Einstein had had for actually a decade or more, Einstein produces a new theory of gravity, which
not a scientific theory. Point that out as well.
The summary, the one-line summary, is that the apple doesn't hit Newton on the head because the Earth pulls the apple down. The apple hits Newton on the head because Newton accelerates upwards and headbutts the apple, which was floating there, minding its own business, having become detached from the tree. So it's completely the opposite picture. It's a very counterintuitive picture.
Yeah, no shit. Okay, thank you for that, Chocolate.
No problem.
Yeah, same rhetoric. They've got Flat Earth Society, pizza pie Earth moving up through space with all the little stars around it, little boat falling off the edge, and when you look into their rhetoric, it's moving up at 9.8 meters per second. Yeah, total nonsense. Counterintuitive.
My favorite part was when he said, based on the thoughts of Einstein, not based on scientific experiment validated. Based on thoughts.
Yeah. In the next breath, he calls it a theory. Not a theory.
Well, you do know that Einstein's imagination is scientific to them.
Well, yeah, yeah, but it isn't. So a theory, when you're talking science, is a collection of validated experimentations or validated hypotheses to form what is known as a theory. So you're basing it on validated science, experiments. Well, that's not what Einstein did. It's mathematics, it's reification, so to call it a theory is wrong. But the reason they're calling it a theory is because they're hijacking the empirical nature of science by using one of its terms. So they call this mathematical reification, this stuff that's come from Einstein's mind, a theory. It isn't. But you'll hear theory and go, oh, well, that's science then, isn't it? No. That's their deception. And if you were to pin them on the wall, oh, well, we only mean colloquial theory. Oh, right, like Mystic Meg or Nostradamus. That sort of theory, as opposed to an empirical, scientifically valid theory. Which it isn't. But they'll use these terms, these scientifically sounding terms, that also have a double colloquial meaning that isn't scientific, to give the impression that they're presenting you with science. They're not. Nonsense. Got one more housekeeping question. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Not even a little bit.
Where's the ballers at?
Very quiet in Discord, just
Still
generally
looking
today.
for that curvature.
Started off really busy before I even started the show, and it's got like less and less participants as we've gone through the show.
Well,
Also-
Virus is in chat, and I'm going back and forth. He's still got dementia about this whole flat Earth, and he says, "Prove it." I said, "Use your eyes. If you follow the chat, you can see how silly he's sounding." Come on the show, Virus.
Don't encourage him. Why do you want him here?
What you guys said? Where are the ballers? I'm telling you, they're hiding in chat.
I didn't say that.
That was me.
Nathan never says that because he's got his feet up and he's relaxing. But I want to hear an argument. Where are they?
Bring that New York spirit.
They all got black swan phobia.
Maybe.
You know what? You know what I realized? You know what
I'll
the
help
the worst thing for a magician is somebody in the audience that sees all the moves. And I think that's what we've become, flat earthers, to these globers, because we see all the tricks and we'll call them out. So we're annoying to them.
We're spoiling the show, man.
Yes.
We're giving away the ending. That there's really no globe. Shh.
That's a good
Yeah,
description.
we see the tricks, even in that thing when he said it's a mind in Einstein's mind. It was his thought. But that's not science.
Nope. And then you know how he goes to connect it to science? He starts talking about the ISS and the people floating inside it. Isn't that wonderful?
Right, but we see the magic trick, so we call it out. I realize that's why we're so annoying to ballers.
Yeah, because they've learned all the tricks. They've learned all these magic tricks. Half the time, they didn't realise they were learning magic. They just knew that they used these words, and people nodded along and gasped and sighed at the amazing world of heliocentrism that they were very educated in, and they probably gained respect for it. And then we come along and go, yeah, that ain't science. No. Let's point out what science is. Me, the flat earther, the one you feel is justified in being ridiculed, is going to now tell you what science actually is. And you're going to kick off, and you're going to cry, and you're going to cry foul, and you're going to moan. But ultimately speaking, a flat earther who you think is worthy of ridicule is going to point out factually accurate details about what science really is and how you don't have it. That's painful when what you thought you had was science, and we point out it's just a magic trick.
Let me give you.
They realized their word doesn't work anymore. Abracadabra. Except the new version of that is gravity.
On that point, Chocolate, let me give you an illustration of how insane they are. They say if you put a bucket over your head and grab it by the handle, pour water in it and spin it, that proves gravity. I say, well, you say we live on a sphere. Why don't you put a sphere on your head with a string tied to it and put water on it and see if you even can get it to stick on it and spin it, and what's it going to do? Go outward or inwards? This is how stupid they are.
Yep. That's a magic trick, another magic trick that allowed them to believe this word, right? That's called gravity, aka abracadabra, right?
Yeah.
But then when you try to relate that to reality and ask them, hey, where are the side? The bucket has sides and a bottom. Where's that on the earth? That's when they lose their mind, right?
Yep.
With Sesame Street, it's a la peanut butter sandwiches.
I remember that.
A la peanut butter sandwiches.
In the meantime, Professor Phil Bell is right now in chat complaining that it's so annoying and that it's unfair because Flat Earther never come on baller shows. Like, Professor Phil Bell, why don't you get on this show and actually defend your ball? Just
we exposing the fake magic.
Why do ballers need shows? I don't understand. If the world was a ball, it would just be a ball. You wouldn't need a show to try to establish to everybody what they already believe.
Let me get it straight. His criticism is some individual people's attendance of the opponent's side's broadcasts, as opposed to demonstrations of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of container, scientific evidence of gravity, a demonstration of the R that he has made public videos declaring is a presupposition that they just assume. Yeah, he's not got any of that. He's got criticisms of our attendance of other people's shows. Yeah, maybe he doesn't appreciate that. Number one, I have been on plenty of other baller shows. I've got them in playlists. You can go and check them out. I go other places. What I found when I got there was that the fundamentalist religious zealot mute button was very much in effect, and I didn't get an opportunity to make my arguments nice and concisely to an audience, so I chose to run my own platform. If you can't beat them on their own turf, set up your own football field. So that's what I did. This is my stadium. Yeah, my audience, my stadium, and I couldn't give two shits whether you expect me or any of my panel to go elsewhere. Yeah, don't care. You can bleat and moan all you like, because what we do is present actual arguments, which I really enjoy hearing being presented out by other people. They've heard them, understood them, and can repeat them to the annihilation of a globe model that doesn't exist beyond the maths. Now, I don't care about your bleatings. I want to hear your rebuttal. How can you have gas pressure without a container? Where's your evidence of the R value you've told your audience that is a presupposition that you justify by going, yeah, of course we presuppose it? You think that's a rebuttal, do you, you absolute clown? You think that's worthy of moaning about where we attend? I am but one man. Who cares where I attend? Your world's fake. Think it matters where Nathan Oakley attends? Yeah, when you've got nothing, it matters where Nathan Oakley attends.
It matters to him.
Well said, Nathan. And by the way, Nathan's undefeated at home, and he's undefeated away. Of course, he has the truth.
I would say flat Earth is undefeated, being that there's no measurable curvature.
Hold on, Apprentice, you're a bit low.
Correct. That was
Hold on one sec.
Nathan.
Just one sec. Go ahead, Apprentice.
You hear me?
Yep.
Hello, am I loud enough?
Yep.
Just, the atmosphere and the gas pressure gets thinner and thinner as it goes up. Can we recreate that in an experiment? Like have a chamber and different layers of pressure in the same chamber?
Bottle garden.
So with that?
It's a dynamic system like we have here. It's just scaled down.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe
He
see
said
someone.
he said a bottle garden, a bottle garden.
I don't follow.
It's a bottle
Explain it.
that's got a garden in it. Sealed. It has its own system. It has its own dynamic system. An ecosystem within the bottle that's self-contained. Yeah? Gas is circulating, all those things.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, can you recreate?
Yeah, yes, a bottle garden.
Atmosphere?
Yes.
A terrarium.
All right, I'll look into it. Cheers.
Gas doesn't go in layers either. It said layers.
I can forgive that. I know what he's saying. He's saying, can you recreate a dynamic system on a small scale? Yeah, you can.
Yes, it's called a terrarium.
Yes, gas isn't homogeneous. It's not in layers.
It sounded like he was asking, can you demonstrate a pressure gradient in a container?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
That's not what he asked, though. Did you want to? Is that you being
No,
asked to clarify?
Maybe I heard it wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Apprentice, are you asking, can a gas pressure gradient be demonstrated?
Yeah, pressure gradient, just like the atmosphere, how it gets thinner and thinner as it goes up. If that can be recreated on a small scale.
Yeah. So Zachary Zabala, Good Times for All, has recreated a gas pressure gradient in a container, heating one bottom, cooling the other end. More high pressure and lower pressure existing simultaneously in the same container.
So I guess the question is, can you put a vacuum next to that or something?
No, that's not the question.
Yes or no, what will happen?
No, that's not the question. Yeah. The question is, can you have that gas pressure without the container?
Correct.
So there's another example, just in case you want to reference this and share it with somebody. If someone says, oh, well, how can you have a gas pressure gradient in a container? Hillbilly Blue Marble Science also demonstrated gas pressure gradient in a container with butane and a very long pipe. Got a pressure gradient out of that.
But he said he was demonstrating gas pressure without a container. Let's not.
Yeah, but he
that.
had two containers. He had the pressurized gas cylinder that he used to transport the butane to his pipe, which is also a container. It has walls, a surface area for the gas to press upon. It has a hole in it, a bit like a tyre. You can drive around with a slow puncture. It's still leaking air, but temporarily is containing gas. Eventually it'll all leak out, just like his butane pipe. Entropy is still applicable.
Well, he doesn't consider a tube to be a container, so, or a pipe to be a container, so.
Yeah, he's
He-
I
he-
quite often when he used to come to the chat, I used to really enjoy getting him to describe it as a container. You get him to describe it as an open container. So you go, so container then? No, an open container's not a container. It was very funny.
Shout out to Daily T for showing that gas does not have a mostly downward vector.
Shout out.
Did he demonstrate that?
I'm sure Zanuck is not very happy about that. What is mostly
I've
down?
got a new question. Go ahead, The Apprentice, is it? Yeah, go ahead.
I just said he's shown he didn't have a downward vector. I just said, how did he demonstrate that, or how did he figure that out?
Well, he discussed it, and actually Zanuck and Chaiki both were silent in Danny's discussion, and even Danny started realizing, hey, I think I may have just disproved gravity, and we go like, yep, sounds like it. So it's just him trying to do the calculations on the vectors of all the gases, and he came up to the vector net zero when he was doing his figuring.
Knock down, go boom, boom, 9.8 meters per second. Wow, what a shock.
Remember that video I posted with smoke going up?
I didn't catch that. Say that again, Flatzoid.
I say, remember the video I made with smoke going up?
No, I'm sorry, that doesn't compute. 9.8 meters per second downwards only. So I didn't see it, it didn't happen. I'm a globehead. Gravity. I'll just reassert my claim again. Maybe if you show it and I talk through it constantly, that won't make it real either. I'll try that maybe.
Well, Nathan, the cognitive dissonance in the ballers is so strong because you just gave an example of a tire with air pressure in it, and the pressure of air was caused by the tire being a closed system around the rim. Now, if you put a hole in that tire, depending on the size of the hole, it might take a week to come out, or if you put a bigger puncture, it immediately comes out, and you're on the side of the road with no gas pressure in your tire. Now, these ballers can see that. They have cars, they have motorcycles, they've had bicycles when this has occurred. And yet their cognitive dissonance is so strong that they actually think the Earth is surrounded by air next to an open space that's a vacuum with no barrier whatsoever. This is the level of insanity.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers looking in from the outside.
And they always talk about the force, but that's, it has a force acting upon it.
What force would that be?
What force?
That's what I want to know.
Exactly. Round in circles we go.
That wasn't an answer. What force would that be?
Gravity.
Gravity? That's not a force. Need a couple of quotes.
The bending of space and time.
That's not a force.
The concept.
It's a concept.
It's a concept.
Yeah. I mean, I could quote Brian Cox. We had him on earlier. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. No, that's wrong. I'll paraphrase that. Gravity isn't really a force at all, end quote. Professor Brian Cox.
Eric van der Linde. Gravity is not a force.
Yeah, or George Musso. There's hundreds of them. Last time we did a show on gravity, QE had all of his references up, and you just go through them. It takes him about 10 minutes to read them all out. Gravity is not a force.
What does Neil deGrasse Tyson say? He's like, it's not a force, but we interpret it as a force or something.
Yeah, you can think of it as a force.
We interpret the effect as a force.
Yeah, but I can give you permission to think of it as a roast chicken. Does that mean it's a roast chicken? Because I've said you can think of this conceptual medium being bent as a roast chicken.
Interpret. That doesn't sound very scientifically validated.
Phil Bell says emerging.
Just sounds like merging from where?
I don't know.
Concept?
I think I pressed 5 to flat Earth off.
Is that the new abracadabra? Emerging force? Where's the emerging force emerging from?
Not a force.
It's an entropic force.
Tropic force. It's cool.
That's relatively new, Chocolate. Emerging force, right?
Because Chocolate, because string theory is science.
Not a scientific theory. Not a scientific theory.
Well, hold up. Somebody who delves into string theory that I know, named Michio Kaku, says nobody in my field uses the scientific method. It's leaps of logic. It's seat of the pants. It's guesswork.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Primering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, this is where we bid our live audience farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Primering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
It's like Princess Bride, the globe versus flat Earth, mostly down.
I remember when Zanuck always said that, but mostly down. Whenever discussing gas, but mostly down.
Yeah, but Neil, you must just go to South Africa, Australia, then you're going up.
True.
Well, now all you got to do now is reference Danny. The gas particles do not have a mostly downward vector, and you can just quote Danny to Zanuck, because Zanuck was there when Danny was doing that.
Is there a clip of this?
What was it in, Paul? 24/7.
Yeah, it was in 24/7. Yeah, I don't think anybody was recording it. So yeah, that's the downfall. We don't have any who've been able to truly cite it. Just hearsay now because I said it and some other people heard it.
I think I pressed Traeger from Fight Flat Earth.
Well, when they have to argue about what gas does, when everybody knows what gas does, to kind of change it so it fits their model, you already know they lost. So by Danny T saying what he said, he just woke up for that little bit of time.
Good morning, Quantum Eraser.
Hey, John.
Alberuni.
You were discussed in the pre-show, Irwin, just so you know, if you want to tune in on Sunday when this is going out. Hello to everyone watching on Sunday. You got discussed in the pre-show, just so you know.
I got the what? Sorry, I was just downstairs.
We were just specifically discussing you in the pre-show. I just thought you'd like to know. Some of it was complimentary. Some of it we just ripped you to pieces. I'm only joking.
Okay.
No, I'm only joking.
Come on.
I'd like to see you try.
No, it was very complimentary. At the end, we all agreed how ace you were.
We love you.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, the beginning bit of this show.
Irwin,
Yeah.
we think you're ace, dude.
12:49.
All right, I do my best.
As Nathan
It's
said,
like Ace Ventura.
as Nathan said, we talk behind your back complimentarily.
Yeah, we at least had the decency to do it behind your back. There's nothing
Alright.
you won't hear that you haven't heard before. Don't worry about it, Armin. I know people like it when
Alright.
people are being. If it was me, I'd want to know. So you get to hear us talking about you,
Yeah.
and you can.
I want to know too, but I'm not going to try to pry it out of you because I just know that being patient is much easier. Just going to have to wait till Sunday.
I was singing your
tagged.
praises.
It could be tagged with the statement, "How dare you talk behind my back nicely?"
Yeah, I was going to say I was singing your praises, and we were just discussing how succinct you've been over the last couple of weeks and things like that. So it's very complimentary for the most part.
All right. Well, I'm not perfect, so I don't expect it just to be all gushing and all that. So
Jolly good. Has been exceptionally quiet for ballers. I wouldn't normally highlight it, but it has been very quiet. Wouldn't you agree?
It's obvious.
Well, because Nathan, it's not fair. We don't go to the baller shows.
yeah, even in my chat, I noticed it too because I got plenty of ballers in there, but they're not really trying to defend the ball anymore. They're just more trying to look for weaknesses and then pointing that out, and then they feel like, oh, well, at least the flat earther is not perfect or something. I don't know.
This is the transition stage for them.
I guess, but I'm all fine with it, you know. But yeah, other than just random baller trolls, you don't know who they are, just trying to be trolling and asserting nonsense. Other than that, yeah, they don't do a lot anymore.
Well, it's hard for them, especially when they have to not only fight us, but they have to fight the laws of nature. Now, how do you fight the laws of nature and think you won?
Well, the thinking part is not that difficult. You can always imagine that you've won.
That's
They
Virus.
just try and make up their own laws of nature.
Hey, 10th, you wanted to speak to Virus. He's here now. Feel free to ask him why they feel the
Virus.
need to defend natural law.
Yeah, Virus, how does your argument stack up against the laws of nature? Can you tell us why the laws of nature destroy your arguments and why they don't? Or what?
What?
The laws of nature. Do you know what laws of nature are? Inviolable. They happen because it's just the way it is.
Okay, what about it?
I'm asking you, if one of your arguments goes against the laws of nature, are you going to side with your argument, or are you going to capitulate and say, you know what, the laws of nature, I can't fight that? Where are you going to stand on that?
Why would I fight the laws of nature?
Great. I'm glad you asked that or stated that. So gas pressure without containment.
What's wrong with that?
Can you show it to me without containment?
Why would I say it doesn't need containment?
Can you show me any gas pressure without any kind of containment? Yes or no?
Why would I show it to you without containment? I think it needs containment.
Oh, great. So then, welcome to Flat Earth.
Word.
Earth's still not flat.
What is it?
Whoa.
So we're a ball with a container around it? Is that what you're saying?
No.
No, just ask him what so what's containing the
you
gas.
just said there's a container. What's the container?
It's a spherical dome bubble.
Let 10th man
Can I
answer.
just ask him a question?
It's now 3 against 1. Can you just 10th man and Virus only, please?
Sorry.
Yes, thank you. That's all right. So, Virus, what do you mean when you said your last statement?
I never said there was a container for Earth.
And I'm asking a direct question about the laws of nature, specifically how you get gas pressure. And if there is no, are you saying there is no container on Earth, over Earth?
Yeah, that's what he just
around
said.
Earth?
That's what he just said, yes.
Okay, so then
Exactly.
you're going against the laws of nature about gas pressure. So how does that feel when your argument goes against the law of nature?
How? What have I said that goes against the laws of nature?
Why do you keep repeating the nonsense and stay on track?
Just
Okay,
answer
so
him.
let's go
Hold
start
on.
again.
Yeah, it's a reasonable question. He's asking what in his statement so far has gone against the law of nature that you're describing, entropy in this example. What specifically has a virus said that goes against that law of nature, 10th one? That's what he's asking.
Yeah, it just seemed like he was dancing. I'll tell you what you said, Virus. You said you don't believe in the container, but you have gas pressure without one. That's what you said.
Okay.
Okay.
No, not
What's your
okay.
response?
The end of space.
You don't see how that's a problem, man?
Not at
Look, you
all.
can't have gas pressure without a container, and the sky vacuum is asserted to be a place that the gas we can fill without containment for the gas. So space stands in violation of this natural law.
The globe does it.
Explain how your gas isn't filling the sky vacuum in the globe model. That's what you're being asked, and so far you just said it doesn't need one.
Yeah, it does. Atmospheric pressure doesn't need one.
Atmosphere is a oxymoron. You know what that means?
Yep. It's not oxymoron.
Gas doesn't have a shape. Atmo is gas. Atmosphere is gas shape. It doesn't have a shape. So you can't just say, well, because I assert that the gas has a shape, that's its container, is it? Calling it atmosphere. That's not a container.
I never said it was a container.
But it needs one to have gas pressure. Therefore, no container, gas would fill the space.
We
I
have
will actually say
atmospheric pressure, so we don't need a container for
Yeah,
it.
you do. It's natural law.
Not for atmospheric pressure. Not by law.
So
we don't.
that's
Can I ask?
Hold on. Not for atmospheric pressure. Not for an oxymoron.
You could think
He
it's
didn't
an
listen to anything you
oxymoron.
said.
Why is it an oxymoron?
I just explained. Atmo means air. That's what it means. Yeah, air is gas. Do you understand that, first and foremost? Atmo means air.
Okay.
Air is gas.
Okay.
Yeah? Gas does not have a shape.
Can you elaborate on that?
It takes the shape of the container it's in. That's what gas does. Takes the shape of its
So
container,
it has a shape or
put
it
it
doesn't
in,
have a shape?
put it in a square container. The gas will fill a square container. Put it in a circular container or spherical container, it'll fill the spherical container. Like a balloon. Whatever shape the balloon is, the gas is filling that balloon. It's not more at one end than the other. It's filling it. Yeah? It just takes the shape of its container. So
what if you have a very, very low pressure inside a container? Would all of that gas still fill the space, or would it just take up whatever it can?
You tell me, if I put a little bit of air into a balloon, does it not take the shape of the balloon?
What if it's a box or a
It's a
container?
yes or no
that's a
question.
rigid
You've asked me, I've
structure
given you an
that doesn't-
example, and then you're ignoring it. So I answer you directly. The question you've asked, I've answered. Right? And then you've ignored it. So if you blow a little bit of pressure into the balloon as per your question, does it not take the shape of the container? Answer, because it's obfuscated, yes, it absolutely does. Gas takes the shape of its container. Now, atmosphere is an assertion that it has a spherical shape. Atmo, air. No, it takes the shape of its container. So this isn't something that's going to hold gas and stop it going into a false assertion of a sky vacuum. It needs containment. It takes the shape of it. Your rebuttal, no, it's atmosphere. Because I assert air is just naturally in a sphere shape. It isn't, it's an oxymoron. Atmosphere, no, gas, air, isn't spherical. Well, what shape is it? Well, whatever container you put it in, a virus. Do you understand that now? Not a sphere shape, naturally. No.
Okay, so I agree with the balloon. The balloon is constricting. So what if you're in a container that's not constricting and you only have a little bit of pressure in there?
What's a container that's not constricting? I don't
It's going to
understand
fill
what
up
you
the
mean.
whole container, or is it going to fill up what it's available to? Is it going to fill up the whole container, or is it going to fill up what is capable of filling up, which won't be the whole container?
Fine. It fills the availability of volume it has to fill. If there's a space it can fill, it will fill it. That's what gas does. It expands in all...
So if you have...
I hadn't finished. What do you mean? Why are you asking me a new question when I haven't finished answering the last one? I haven't finished answering you. I haven't finished answering you.
Okay.
The gas will fill the availability of space it has to fill. It will fill the container, the space it has. Now, if the sky was a vacuum, a space for gas to fill, it would fill it. Therefore, space, the sky vacuum, isn't real. There isn't a space up there called a vacuum space for the gas to fill, because it would be filling it. That's what it does.
And why do you need a container?
Who's talking to you?
And what if there's not enough molecules to fill the container?
There we go.
What do you mean not enough molecules? It doesn't matter how many. If you've got one molecule of gas, it will bounce around the entirety of the container. One.
What happens when it runs out of kinetic energy?
It doesn't run out of kinetic energy.
So gas molecules have infinite kinetic energy?
When does gas run out of kinetic energy?
Just
I'm asking you, so does gas have infinite kinetic energy?
You know what the first law of thermodynamics is, Virus?
Does gas
Do you know what the first law is? Yes or no?
Yes.
What's the first law of thermodynamics?
Gas have infinite kinetic energy? Yes or no?
What's the first law? What's the first law, Virus?
Energy can't be created nor destroyed, only transferred.
So,
but does gas have infinite
is it running out?
Energy? Yes or no?
Is it running out then? Running out of energy? Is it vaporizing into nothing? No, that doesn't happen.
What?
Energy isn't being destroyed. The gas is simply expanding in all directions.
Nobody says energy is being destroyed. Nobody's claiming it.
He's just not shutting up between his sentences now. He's just rumpusing it between each attempted answer. Right. So, we understand, do we, Virus, that gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of space it has to fill? Do you understand that?
Yes, but I doesn't agree that it just moves in one direction indefinitely.
Excellent. So it doesn't slow down. Like, we haven't got these rebellious gas particles that slow down at a particular point, like the Kármán line, and say, hey, we're not going to go any further. I've run out of energy. No, they just expand in all directions until something obstructs them. And that would be the wall of the container, notwithstanding collisions between gas that's in high concentration on its way towards collision with the container wall. But it will fill the availability of volume. It's described in the second law as occupation of all available microstates. In other words, it'll fill the space.
If it's capable of doing so, what if it's not capable of doing so?
Yeah, what if gas wasn't expanding in all directions in high speed? It is, though. That's what gas does.
So does all gas move the same speed?
No. It just expands in all directions at high speed to fill the availability of space it has. It's described...
And why does helium go up?
Nathan, can I try to...
Hold up, Ed. Hold up, brother Ed. You're next. Right after we're done with the virus. We got an excerpt from you. You're next, brother. Just hold on.
I want to try to clarify something to the Kumu virus, okay? It might help him understand why he's wrong.
Go ahead, Irwin.
All right. So Akumu virus, look, if a gas is literally in the process of expanding into a vacuum, which means nothing, then there's nothing going to stop it or slow it down, because on Earth, where there is gas pressure, things slow down when they're like a bullet or anything that's moving because of air friction. Well, in a vacuum, there is no air friction, so there's nothing to stop the speed of the gas from expanding. It's actually just being more powered by the gas behind it also wanting to expand in all directions. So you could actually state that the power of the gas pressure expansion as it tries to fill the container increases only. It doesn't actually stop until the supposed end of the container is met, which there is none, supposedly. So it's only going to explosively keep increasing in force.
So gas doesn't have to fight against weight. It fights against air friction. Is that what you're saying?
Not if there's a vacuum for
No.
it to fill. It'll just fill the availability of volume it has to fill. Weight would imply a downward vector, and it's expanding in all directions, not down. All directions, Virus.
No, okay.
And it's
so
nothing,
I
it has
agree
nothing
with
to slow it
expanding in all
down because there's no
directions.
gas
I agree.
to slow it down.
Hold on, Chocolate. Virus. Irwin wants to establish with you, if you appreciate that if there's other particles of gas in high concentration for the particle you're observing, it's going to be slowed down by its collision with other gas particles, whereas it reaches this claim of a sky vacuum, there's nothing impeding it, it just continues in high velocity in whatever direction it's going. Do you understand that? That's Irwin's point. Have you recognised what he said, and do you understand it? Does this help you realise space is fake?
No, but I agree with pretty much what he's saying a little bit. No, but I don't understand how.
You agree with
Hold
what
on,
I'm saying?
Irwin. Hold on. Go ahead, Virus. Sorry.
I don't see how it correlates to space is fake.
Because the gas would fill the space, we'd have no gas to breathe. It's expanding in all directions at high speed, and if there was a space for it to fill, natural law dictates that it would fill it. It fills all available space. It will occupy all available microstates. That would be the space availability for it to fill. It'll fill it. That's what gas does. It's moving at high speed, and unless something gets in its way, it just keeps going.
Sorry, Boris.
How do you so sure?
Boris, in your model.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, Chocolate. You were next in line, and then we're going to move across. We've probably exhausted this afterwards anyway.
Who's next in line?
I've wanted to ask a question for 10 minutes
let's
now.
get some order. We're going to have Chocolate,
Jesus.
then we're going to have Brian, then we're going to move across to you, QE, with a new subject that I'm going to step out of, apart from to moderate. Chocolate, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Flatsoid can go.
Flatsoid.
Oh, is it Flatsoid? Oh, sorry, Flatsoid. Go ahead, Flatsoid.
I've been trying to ask them for 20 minutes now.
Go ahead, Flatsoid. I thought you were
Anyway,
Chocolate, sorry.
I just wanted to ask. It sounds to it sounds to me like you think entropy decreases. Is this true?
He won't understand what that means. The question you're being asked, Virus, do you think entropy decreases?
In what situation?
When it reaches the sky vacuum and doesn't expand.
Infantry to the
when the gas.
Atmosphere.
Don't ask a question, then waffle through the answer. In what situation? I'll tell you if you can shut up. When the gas reaches the sky vacuum, yeah? In your model of a sky vacuum based Earth in a sky vacuum, when it reaches the sky vacuum, does entropy decrease?
Okay, let's say it this way: the entropy of Earth can decrease because it is giving it to its surroundings. If that makes sense.
No,
wow.
We're just not. You're not answering the question.
It's yes or no.
No, your answer demonstrates admirably that you have no clue what the second law of thermodynamics is.
Yep.
Can I throw a bone in
at all
as well?
Sure, Adam.
Just a couple of statements from the kinetic molecular theory, because I think there was a bit of, or maybe they lose their kinetic energy as they get higher. So,
yeah, that's it. I was getting to that. Go ahead, Adam.
So, just to remind you, loss of kinetic energy is to do with inelastic collision. But just a couple of statements. Collisions between gas particles or collisions with the walls of a container are perfectly elastic. None of the energy of a gas particle is lost when it collides with another particle or with the walls of the container. The average kinetic energy of a collection of gas particles depends upon the temperature of the gas and nothing else. I would draw you to your model's temperature scales up there and ask whether or not by the definition of your model, whether those gas particles would have more or less kinetic energy to be able to escape than when they're lower down at lower temperatures.
You let him off the hook.
Not too kind on that.
Adam's a nice guy.
You had to butt in.
Right, I think we're done with this. Who is it that you wanted to address, QE? Is it Ed?
Yeah, I wanted to come virus one with what Adam said, because he's implying that the gas particles just stop because they lose their energy, like they're gaining the energy from within them and creating energy. You're a numpty dipshit. Where do gas particles get their kinetic energy from?
Probably other
Was it saying the gas ran out of
Everyone
gas?
else, hello? We're waiting for a response from Ed. Just Ed and QE.
Well, not Ed. Come by. Ed in a
virus.
second. What?
My bad.
I already answered.
Come by. Hello.
Has he already answered?
What did he answer?
Can you reiterate your answer?
From other collisions and whatnot.
From other collisions. Wrong.
Or heavier.
They don't get their energy from collisions. Adam just told you. I knew you didn't listen. Friggin' clown.
Well, let's just
From
establish
the
that. Hold on.
temperature.
Oh, we don't know that. Let's just establish that definitively with
I'm
him.
trying to add on to it.
Let's just
I'm not
establish.
just going to repeat what he said.
Definitely not listening now. Did you understand what
What
an
the hell are
elastic...
you even talking about?
I was going to ask him that. Do you understand?
No,
what...
not you. Oh,
I'm
God.
asking Virus if he understands what an elastic collision is or not.
Yeah.
What's an elastic collision?
Y'all are funny. I miss.
Adam's just explained it to you. We're just checking if you understood what he explained or not.
Yeah.
Are we done here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not yet. Explain it to us so we know you know.
Hold on. Explain what?
Elastic collisions, my God.
What, just bouncing off the walls?
Like pulling teeth.
Just bouncing off the wall?
Yeah, it's got something to do with that, which is what you're claiming loses kinetic... Yeah, please don't, Virus. You're saying that is what loses its kinetic energy. Adam's giving you a detailed explanation of why that is not the case. And it's centered around the idea of elastic collisions. We're trying to establish if you've understood that or not.
Yeah, but I never made that claim.
Yeah, you did. You just were asked how it loses its kinetic energy, answered by you, the fuckwit, who's a retard. It's the collisions and whatnot.
Ain't kinetic.
Yo, shithead! Shut up! While I berate your dumb fucking ass. You just said the collisions and whatnot. Precisely your dumb fuck claim that's been ripped to shreds by Adam. You just didn't understand what he explained to you because you are retarded. Held back mentally, couldn't understand, couldn't parrot it back, couldn't explain back how it debunks your claims of collisions and whatnot causing a decrease in energy, you stupid shithead.
That wasn't an answer for that question. That wasn't an answer for that question.
My pain is centered around the abject fuckwittery of this retard called a cum virus. He's just had somebody very calm and patient, that would be Adam, explain very concisely what an elastic collision is. All I'm trying to do while this fuckwit talks through me constantly is ascertain whether the retard, that would be Virus, understood or not. He didn't understand. He's thick as shit. Now, while I'm trying to explain to him that his lack of comprehension is being demonstrated in his answers, and it absolutely debunks his claims of collisions and whatnot, which he's going to parrot through me while I'm explaining, elastic collisions debunks that claim, you abject moron. Okay? Yeah, it's painful to talk to retards with a globe belief. Yes, it's very painful for me. Yeah, because you're thick.
Okay.
No, okay, you dumb fuck. Next time when Adam's talking about elastic collisions, listen to him, you stupid retard.
why did you think that was an answer for that question? Because that wasn't an answer for that question, Nathan.
You were asked how the kinetic energy is decreased. You answered the collisions and whatnot.
I was asked how the.
Don't tell me what you're asked, you
kinetic...
dumb fucking retard. Get the hell out of my show, you stupid spastic. These people are mentally retarded. That's what's been demonstrated here. He couldn't listen.
Yeah, he kept on saying or pointing to or implying, he said something to the effect that, do gases have indefinite kinetic energy? Yeah, we heard you. So the question was, where do gases get their kinetic energy from? And then somebody else asked, where do they lose energy from? And you said, from the collisions and such.
And whatnot.
Yeah, debunked by Adam's explanation of elastic collisions, which he didn't listen to. Very annoying.
Yeah, he didn't listen to him. Adam told him exactly what the kinetic energy of gases, where it comes from, elastic collisions, and everything. Right before I asked him, where did gases get their kinetic energy from? He couldn't answer it. So, Ed Freeze. Nathan, can you go ahead and pull up his message yesterday?
Is it
it's in Master?
Can I just say what I was going to say before we go on?
Yes, please, Brian. I'll dig out this photo while you make it.
It'll be very quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to say that, thank you, Nathan. In their own model of belief, they're losing millions and millions of tons of gas to vacuum of space every day. So that completely contradicts the claim that the gas is losing its kinetic energy. Thank you.
Our belief, us QE.
Shut him up.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Shut him up. Let's get to Ed.
Butthead.
Damn. Suddenly all the ballers all come rolling in.
What a team. What a team.
Okay, I've got...
Go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead, Nathan. Can you read Ed Freeze's message yesterday, please?
Satellites are a necessary antecedent for satellite TV. We have satellite TV, therefore satellites are real. Nice, affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
Antecedent.
Ed, you serious, bro?
Yeah, because somebody named it satellite TV, therefore satellites must exist. Because why would they call it satellite TV? You know.
Affirming the
Ed, is that your proof of globe? Satellite TV?
Sorry, it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
Yeah, you're paying it.
That's funny. I thought this was the argument for the container.
Are we gonna move right past your little satellite?
The container is a necessary antecedent. Learn what antecedent means.
Yeah,
then
it means
come
you've
back.
got to have it to have the other. So you're telling me that you can't get a satellite TV signal any other way than a satellite?
That's what satellite signal means. Yes.
Really? So I can't... My question again, I'll just ask again. So you cannot receive a satellite TV signal from anything other than a satellite. That's the only way to receive satellite TV signals, i.e. TV stations that are called satellite stations. You can only get them via satellite, right?
Otherwise, it wouldn't be satellite TV, would it? It would be cable.
Okay, that's okay. No, let's just try again.
Somehow I knew he was
hold on. Let's just try again. So I've got a dish on the wall, and it offers me a service called Sky Satellite TV. One of those TV stations could be Sky News, a satellite TV channel. I'll ask one last time, Ed. Is the satellite claimed broadcast the only way to get, in my specific example, Sky News? It's only possible via satellite, correct?
Otherwise, it would be cable and not satellite TV.
What's cable? Can I get it via the cable? What? So it's not an antecedent then? It's not that without the satellite...
Then it's cable TV.
You seem to be rumpusing me
Not
there.
satellite
Seem to be
TV.
rumpusing me. Are scared of the truth? Scared of your idiocy? That this isn't an antecedent
Scared of
consequent
being
relationship?
debunked.
You're going to talk through me again?
It is.
You fundy coward. Hello? I'm going to try and
Talked
detail
about
how stupid you are.
satellite TV,
Ed,
not
coward,
cable TV.
coward. Hello?
Yeah,
you haven't finished yet, coward.
TV.
Let's have 10 minutes of
It's
Ed
not cable
talking through
TV.
the rebuttal. Ed, yeah, when you calm down, yeah, share your pain, Ed. Once you've shared your
I'm
pain,
calm.
Ed, once you've
It's
shared
not
your
cable
pain,
TV,
I'm going to point out
It's
your
satellite.
idiocy. Ed, you calm down, mate. Take a chill pill. Yeah, share your pain, and then I'll point out your idiocy.
I'm very relaxed.
Good.
I'm relaxed. I'm enjoying
You
this
relax
because it's
while
not
I point out
cable
that this
TV.
is...
It's set
No,
up.
I'm not allowed to point it out, Ed. I'm not allowed to point out your idiocy. You're just going to talk through it constantly.
Cable is not satellite. It's
No shit, that's our point, you unbelievable retard. Yeah, so it's not an antecedent, making your claim bogus, making you a moron, meaning it's not only available by satellite, meaning it's not an antecedent.
cable TV.
So you talk through
It's
the
not
entirety of
satellite
that then?
TV, is it?
So you talk through the entirety of that then, you coward.
Not going to get it. He don't even understand it. when
He's
you're
not listening,
explaining
he's
to him.
talking
really.
through me.
I think he just took his
Oh,
meds
I
or
understand.
Okay,
Cable
really?
TV
You just
is
talk
not
through every word of
satellite,
it?
is it though?
Just talk through every word of it. I had to shut down your line because I tried 6 times to make my rebuttal heard. You wouldn't
but you
allow it,
always-
Ed.
So there's nothing new.
Okay, tell me when you're finished. I'll try and make my rebuttal.
Right. So you muting me is nothing new, and cable is not satellite, is it? So there you go. You got it.
So it's not the antecedent requirement for Sky.
Oh, it actually is.
It's talking through me. Oh, so you do need the Fundy mute button. So you need the Fundy mute button, Ed. Hadn't finished. Shall I try again?
I don't care. It's your
Well, you
rules,
keep
right?
talking through me, Ed. I allowed you to point out our argument that it's also available by cable, meaning it's not an antecedent consequent
Well, then it's
relationship.
cable TV.
And he's talking through me again. So I knew the Fundy mute button would be used continually. So what? Unless I use my mute button to stop you doing this, Ed, I'm not going to be allowed to make this rebuttal consistently. You're not going to allow it. You're constantly
Not a
talking through it,
rebuttal,
Ed.
though.
You're doing it right now. And then projecting onto me that I'm muting you. I'm not. But you're muting me continually. I have yet been allowed,
did.
and you're talking through me again. I am not being allowed to make my rebuttal. You're not allowing it, Ed. You're a Fundy coward. So when you're done with your pain, I'll attempt for the 7th time to refute this shit that's on screen that has come from your pen.
Go ahead, Nathan.
It's not an antecedent, as you've just pointed out. You thought that by pointing out our argument in rebuttal to your claim, that it's also available by a different means, debunking the notion of it being an antecedent as per your claim. That would be the annihilation of your nonsense claim that it is comparable to have satellite TV as an antecedent where we assert gas pressure requires a container, making it an actual antecedent consequent relationship, unlike satellite TV. You moron.
Wrong. Cable TV is not satellite, so
Yeah, your claim is that satellite's an antecedent, so your declaration debunks your own claim.
Lite TV. Satellite TV. I didn't say cable.
He's not
did I?
getting it. Nathan.
Let me give you an
You're wrong.
alternative,
From the
Ed.
equation, you won't have
They could just
satellite TV.
call it satellite TV, and it's
Yes.
not actually powered by a satellite. They just say it is.
No, there's
How about
exactly-
that?
This guy
There's a
thinks
difference
Dish
between
Network
cable and
proves the
satellite.
globe. This is ridiculous.
It's gone
Yeah, he
affirming the
doesn't
consequence.
understand the difference between necessary and sufficient causes either.
Yeah, you don't understand the difference between. cable
Yeah,
and
you don't
satellite.
understand.
That's
What's the
weird.
difference between necessary and sufficient?
What's the difference between cable and satellite?
You're done. You're toast. It's also begging the question fallacy. It's kind of circular, don't you think?
So you don't know.
Kind of circular, don't you think? You don't know. Satellites are necessary antecedent. You put necessary antecedent for satellite TV. You're just using words. The word satellite to grease the skids for your necessary. We have satellite TV, therefore satellites are real. That's kind of circular, don't you think?
Yeah, man. I got unicorn
Really?
TV. Okay, so that means there's real
Satellite TV
unicorns.
works without satellites then.
This is the logic you're using, so yeah, it's valid.
The logic, no, the logic you're using.
Yeah, it's your
No,
claim.
go ahead, explain satellite TV without satellites.
No, it's not a claim. Sorry, excuse me, who was that? We're not making that claim. Hello? We're not making that claim.
Well, of course not. Flat earthers never make claims.
So, excuse me, we are not making that claim. Making your former statement a burden of proof reversal fallacy.
You
Whoever that
actually
was
did.
that just spoke, who's now
You actually
presumably
did,
going to talk through
because
me,
you
or
said
it'll be
you
Ed,
received
who's going to
satellite
talk through me. I haven't
space.
paused for breath yet. I'll just point out they're using Fundy mute button, of course. So I'd like the guy who just used the fallacy to concede that what he's done is reverse the burden of proof. This is Ed's claim. He's challenged us to prove it. Not our claim, burden of proof reversal fallacy. Could you concede that, please, whoever was just speaking? Guy who is now silent, I would like you to concede your fallacy rather than go silent.
Man up.
Yeah, grow a pair of balls, accept the beration you're receiving from a flat earther. You have used a fallacy. You have challenged me to prove a claim I am not making. Hello? Hello, coward, it seems. Coward globehead, who used a fallacy. Speak up.
He's not
I think he just realized this is being recorded.
Hello? I'm still asking said globe-believing moron coward to concede the fallacy I have highlighted. Cowards.
Anyone know who said it?
Don't know. Sorry.
Well, Nathan, it just had to come back to a violation of natural law. Started that way, and it's ending that way. So when Ed says satellites, he's talking about satellites in space, which is a violation of the second law. So we're right back to where we were with virus. Now, I've got something posted in Master B if you want to show what inviolability means. Say, virus, you fought the law,
I've
and
closed.
the law won, virus.
No, virus isn't here anymore.
I know, I'm just saying this. He fought the law and the law won. Now Ed's fighting the law and the law won too. You can't beat natural law. You're not going to beat it.
I fought the law and the law won.
Right, I've got your definition of inviolable on.
Yeah, so incapable of being transgressed or dishonored, immune to attack, incapable of being tampered with, must be kept sacred, not capable of being violated or infringed, unassailable, untouchable, impossible to assail. The antonym, the opposite, would be capable of being violated. Nice try, boys. Immune to attack, incapable of being tampered with. Synonyms: impregnable, inviolable, secure, strong, unassailable, unattackable. Bye-bye, globe.
Yeah, in specific reference to the second law of thermodynamics. The occupation of all available microstates. The space that they claim the gas has to fill being outer space is fake. Natural law dictates that if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Still waiting on a coward globehead who used the fallacy?
He's not going to come clean. And I don't understand how they just can't get it. How does this stop people in their tracks? You can't have gas pressure without a container. Why ain't they getting it?
He used two fallacies. He also used a stereotyping fallacy. Well, flat earthers never prove any... that's a stereotyping fallacy. Two fallacies, one sentence.
And a baseless assertion, by the way. We can prove that you're a numpty dipshit.
I just think it's very telling that there's just been no here. You don't hear of the ballers. Suddenly they come in one by one and even overtalk one another, and then they all just drop out again and it's all silent.
Yep. Until he closed
like a hit and run.
He's muted. That's what you can't hear us.
What?
There we go.
We hear you
again.
perfectly fine, Chaiki.
Oh, thank you.
What we didn't hear was a guy who used 3 fallacies in one sentence, conceding his fallacies that were pointed out to him. We just got a stone cold silence out of him.
They're multiplied.
So, globe-believing moron launches his attack on flat earthers, feels justified, but in fact used 3 fallacies in one sentence. Then, nothing. Seem reasonable? Who was the guy? Anybody? Who was the guy? Did anybody notice who it was?
No, I don't know who it was, but
I've never heard of him before.
he was rumpusing Discord, obviously, and then Chaiki comes and says he was muted, but then we hear him, but he's not saying anything.
Yeah. They want to talk through us so they can cry foul when I shut them up. Yeah? Occasionally, I'll say... Sometimes what I'll do, like I did then, is imply that I'm doing it so they can cry foul whilst talking through me constantly. And then they very quickly don't know what to do when I'm pointing out that they're fundy muting me constantly and count off the amount of times they do it. They're just projecting. That's all they're doing.
Well, they want to fall back to the mute excuse. Like that has any veracity whatsoever. Lino Tomo, I seen you try to come off mute. Was that you who said that? Said those 3 fallacies?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, that's not the same voice.
Hey, Kiwi, that was a good pun. A mute excuse.
It's a mute. That's what they. Yeah, he threatens them with mute, but doesn't. No one was put on mute.
Mute, 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 mute.
Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah.
You think you could fall back? You think people that are listening to this will say, "Oh my God, Nathan muted him. That's why he can't give the correct response." Do you think that flies? So you come on, you have diarrhea of the mouth. He threatens to mute you. You're not on mute, but then you complain you're muted. This is it. We're under a carnival tent. Yep. You're bozos. Let's get back to your satellites are the necessary antecedent for satellite TV. Get back to that.
Oh my
Now,
God.
Nathan asked you a question. Can you answer him?
Oh,
Ed! Mr. Ed!
Wilbur?
I can't remember what the last question asked was, though.
You asked him about you getting your sky signal from satellites.
No, we went past that. You asked him the difference between necessary and the other word?
Sufficient.
Sufficient.
Do you know the difference between necessary and sufficient, Ed?
Irrelevant.
Wilbur.
This is carnival.
This is insanity right now.
It's almost like beating a dead horse.
What about?
No one's left a gap. He's off mute, waiting for a gap. Hello, hello,
Okay.
hello,
Irwin.
hello,
Irwin.
hello. He's waiting to actually speak. He's just not being given a gap.
Yeah.
Can you hear him?
No.
No.
Nope.
He's been talking.
Not flashing.
We haven't heard him say one thing.
It's Discord.
He's been
He has
talking
to
this
log
whole
in
time.
again.
Yeah, he's been talking, but he's not talking now, is he?
Tell him to drop out and come back in again.
He's not flashing.
I know he's not.
There you go, now he's flashing. No, we can't hear you, Ed. You'll have to drop out and come back in. Can't hear you.
I hear him just fine.
You can
Shut
hear him,
up.
we can't.
No, that could be. No, the
We can't
Discord
hear
does
Ed.
that shit. It's weird. Some people can hear it and then others can't. It's totally weird and random like
The
that.
Discord glitch. He just needs to drop
Yeah,
and
Discord
rejoin.
is bugged out sometimes.
That's the side effects of beating a dead horse, I guess. Come back.
So, can
Good,
you hear
Ed.
me or not?
Now we hear you, Ed.
Ah. Okay.
Can you repeat
So
the
what was
question?
the question?
Huey, can you repeat the last question? Thanks.
What's the difference between necessary and sufficient?
What's the difference between satellite TV and cable TV?
Very
So
little.
he asked me another question. Well, one says it's satellite and the other one says it's cable. That's the difference. Now answer my
Very
question.
good. Very good. So you get the point.
Good. So necessary and sufficient, please. Hey, you've paused long enough and delayed long enough to go ahead and look it up. So what is it?
No, it's fine. I'm good.
Yeah. You're good with it? Yeah, so you don't know, right?
No, I just don't care because my argument is valid.
Sorry.
Your argument, but this circle jerking friggin' monstrosity of a train wreck, that's valid. Hey.
This is your argument? This network and shit?
Hold on.
Like,
QE answered
satellite
you.
TV?
Hold on, Chopper. Hold on. Sorry, QE answered you immediately, and then just repeated the question that you've dodged 4 or 5 times. Now it's not relevant?
No, it's not relevant.
It's the word you used.
Relevant.
Sorry, it's the word you used.
No, it's actually that you used. You talked about cable. That's not satellite TV, is it? So it's irrelevant. I don't give a fuck.
Right, do I need to put it on screen for my audience and then call you a liar? Necessary. There's that word.
Right. And necessarily
So not relevant?
Satellite TV.
So not relevant. So not relevant?
TV.
So not relevant or the word you used? Not relevant?
Satellite TV.
Not relevant or the word you used? So it's not relevant. It's the word
what's the difference
you used.
between cable TV and satellite TV?
It's the word you used. Now you're being quizzed on your claim based on the word you used, and you're telling us it's not relevant. It's the word you used. You're ignoring it. You've ignored it 5 times. Your word. You used it. Gaining clarity. Socratic method. Debate. Not relevant. It's your word.
Did you put it on the screen for the audience?
Yes.
Hold it.
Sorry, you're telling
Ed,
us
you
that the
lost,
word you're
Ed.
using isn't relevant. Yeah? Hello? Yes, relevant.
No,
It's your word.
Your definition game is irrelevant.
It's your word. We are debating your claim based on your words, and you're saying the words I use aren't relevant. The definition's not important. Therefore, that declaration means
No, your
any word
definition
you're talking
game is
through me.
not
You seem to be
important.
fundy muting me. I'll try again. Based on your last declaration, nothing you say has any meaning then. Because if we are to attack in any way the veracity or definition of any word you use, it's not important. Therefore, you are useless to us. Because the words you use aren't relevant, according to you.
No, your definition game is irrelevant.
Your definition, your words, not mine.
Right, so the argument.
Did you not use the
is
word
still valid.
necessary?
Yeah, he
I
did.
haven't heard anything
He
against
did.
it.
He's now saying it's
You're
irrelevant,
talking about
Chocolate.
cable TV.
Yeah, he's now saying it's irrelevant. We've got a detail about that cable TV claim that we've
Cable
debated about
TV
based
is
on the
not
words he's
satellite
used.
TV.
He's going to fundy mute me while I point this out, though. Yep, fundy mute time. Yep. Yeah, so you've used this word necessary, and we are focusing on that word. You're telling us it's not relevant.
Cable TV is not satellite TV, is it? So,
Yeah, that would be our point. The satellite bit isn't
Is that
a
any
necessary
argument?
and you're fundy muting me again? Yeah, I'll try again. Let's see how calm he can remain. Share your pain, by the way. So yeah, that would be
I'm
where
very
in there he
calm.
is, fundy
I'm
mute me.
enjoying
Share your
this.
pain, Ed. Share your pain. I'll try again. Fundy mute button. Let's see how
I'm
long.
not in pain, Nathan.
Fundy mute again.
This is
Still
hilarious.
fundy muting me, I see. Still haven't got a chance to make my claim. Yeah, that is actually our winning point that you're throwing back at it like it's a rebuttal. That's our winning point you're using there, Ed. And somebody else is fundy muting me again. 3rd attempt. Let's try once more. So you're throwing back our winning point that, yeah, cable and satellite. Yeah, according to your claim, you can only achieve it with satellite to make it an antecedent, defeated by cable. That's our winning point.
No, because then it's cable TV, not satellite TV. So
Right,
you're
so-
wrong. My argument.
Yeah,
is
that's our winning point. Yes, that's
Nathan.
correct, Ed. So not an antecedent then.
I told you he wasn't going to get it.
Yeah, so that's our
Yes,
winning
because
point.
then it's cable
Told you, you
TV,
don't even
and
understand
not
it.
satellite TV.
Yeah, that's our winning argument. That's what demolishes
No.
your stupid claim. We then moved on to a different point, clarifying what this word means, this necessary word, and you've avoided it. and have just reasserted the same claim, which is actually our winning argument in rebuttal, like it's a defence. No, stating that cable ain't satellite, yeah, that's our winning point. They're not an antecedent, Ed.
No, it is, because cable TV is not satellite TV.
So therefore you can achieve Sky TV without satellite, meaning it's not an antecedent.
Then it's not satellite TV, is it?
So therefore it's not an antecedent then. So it's not an
satellite.
antecedent. So you don't require it to get Sky TV. That's the point. That's our winning rebuttal.
It's not a necessary antecedent.
Right. It can be a way of getting
it. It is, because otherwise it's cable TV.
Yeah, so there's other ways of achieving it.
Doesn't matter, cable TV.
So it's not necessary that you have satellite then. This word you've used implies that it's necessary, that you must have it. No, Ed, not necessary. You could get it with cable, right?
Can I settle this down?
No, you can shut up.
Satellite.
Shut up!
Not necessary.
No,
for
fucking
TV.
Beavis, shut up!
Yes.
So not an antecedent, Ed. Not necessary.
It is, because otherwise it's cable TV.
So you must have satellite, can't do it with cable.
It isn't possible to have satellite TV.
Someone else
without
piping up a seat,
satellite.
coming to his defence. Notice that when they're getting pinned down, they all pile in to save him. It's not necessary, Ed. I can achieve it with cable. Maybe tell me that you can achieve it with cable and that's not satellite.
That's right.
Or maybe Fundy mute
But
me.
not satellite.
Maybe a few people need to Fundy mute me. It's not necessary, Ed.
I think
And
that's
it's
the
cable
guy that
TV,
talked
not
earlier.
satellite.
Yeah,
Shut up,
that's the
Harvey.
guy.
Not necessary, Ed.
I could also just rebut the
Irwin.
entire antecedent claim by
God.
saying it's a second law of thermodynamics violation.
Yeah, we know.
Arwin, please be
We can
quiet,
get there, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, but he's just saying if it is literal, then satellites would be an antecedent. So he's trying to trick
Right,
question us.
so
Well,
cable TV is not
satellite
satellite
TV
TV.
doesn't
Fundy muting
exist
Irwin.
because it's a second law of thermodynamics violation.
Yeah,
and
nobody cares, Arwin. Nobody
You Fundy
cares.
muted him though, didn't you? You don't care because you're not listening to him. You don't care and you're going to talk through him. So we
No.
care. I run the show and decide what's important for the audience to hear, not you. I've decided Arwin's important to listen to, regardless of your consideration of how important Arwin is. So you can shut up
You're
while
lost.
Arwin talks. Not Fundy mute him continually because you've decided you don't want to hear it, which is what you've just declared. You spoke on behalf of everybody because you're an asshole. But I will decide, because it's my show, what's important to be heard, not you. You can express how important it is to you, and you have. Not important,
Are you
right?
withholding information from your audience?
Withholding information while you're interrupting Arwin and stopping him being heard. Again, another projection of your own digression onto Arwin and me. So no, you are censoring Arwin, talking through him while he talks, and then claiming we're doing that. Wow. No, you're just talking through him. Just shut up while Arwin talks. Simple. Don't Fundy mute him and censor him like you've just done. Okay, Ed? You may respond.
did he even hear
Cable
it?
TV
Or
is
shall I say it
satellite
again?
TV. You're wrong.
That's not what I asked. I asked you to shut up. Go ahead, Arwin.
Okay, first question would be, Ed, did you hear what I said?
No, he didn't. He talked through it.
All right. Well, I'll say it again. I hope he doesn't interrupt again. But yeah, what he was trying to do is basically imply if satellite TV with using literal satellites was literally real, bypassing all the natural consequences and all that, then satellite being real would be an antecedent. So it's like a philosophical trick question. But
It
it can
actually
all be
is.
thrown out of the door. I'm not finished yet by explaining to you that satellite TV in a literal sense is a second law of thermodynamics violation because satellites can't be orbiting in space because of the second law of thermodynamics violation. So it can all be thrown out of the door.
Can you stop censoring him, please, Ed? He hasn't finished. Can you just repeat your summary again, Arwin? Ed chose to censor you.
Oh God! I take it he heard the first part, so I'll say the second part again when he started interrupting. That is that literal satellite TV using literal satellites, as you think, is a second law of thermodynamics violation. So whether it is an antecedent doesn't really matter anymore because the whole thing can be thrown out of the door. Because it's a second law of thermodynamics violation to assume that satellites are literally real like that. Do you understand, Ed?
I understand your opinion. You're just wrong because otherwise it wouldn't be satellite TV.
Well, yeah, it could be cable. Of course, you could get it that way through cable.
Right, but then it's not satellite TV, is it?
Yeah, so it's not an
Thank
antecedent then. It's not necessary that you have a satellite.
It is, because otherwise it's cable TV, not satellite
Yeah,
TV.
so you don't have to have a
Calling
satellite.
it what you want doesn't
Satellite
help.
TV because it's satellites.
Yeah.
That's
so-
what he's saying.
So it's not necessary.
It's not-
It's not necessary then, like you were saying.
It is.
No,
It
no,
is,
because you could have
because
cable.
Otherwise it's cable TV.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise it's cable, so therefore you could get it by cable. So it's not necessary that
Right,
you have
so
satellite.
no, because they're cable TV, not satellite TV.
Yeah, that's our winning argument. Yeah, that's why it's not an antecedent. That's how we win. That's how
Yeah, the
your
sad
claim is
thing
wrong.
is you don't understand that.
No,
How about radio tower transmitted TV? Could somebody call that
It's
satellite
actually
TV?
how you lose.
It's how
The
we
problem
lose.
here, the problem here is that he doesn't know what an antecedent means, and then when he says necessary antecedent, he loses his whole argument.
Yeah.
Yep. He already lost. So let's get to satellites. Where are these satellites at?
Oh, we just covered that.
No, I'm asking Ed.
Oh, my bad.
So you admit that they are very antecedent then?
No.
Did my question sound like an admission?
No, then we're still
Where
stuck on that
are
point,
the
aren't we?
satellites
Moving
at,
on.
Ed?
Where are the satellites that you're claiming in your claim? You use the word satellite.
So, yeah. So you admit they are the necessary antecedent.
Oh,
then.
you think my question is an
Otherwise we
admission?
can't move
Are
on.
you off your meds?
No, it's just an asshole. He didn't admit anything. He asked you a question. We defeated your argument, and then you repeated the winning point we used to defeat your argument to assert back at us as though it was a defence. So you constantly highlighting that there are alternatives, therefore satellite not necessary. That's our winning argument that you keep rebutting us with, like it's a rebuttal. No, you just keep paraphrasing our winning argument back to us. That's not winning.
It is necessary
No,
for
again.
satellite TV. So I
again, Mr. Satellite TV, therefore satellites. Where are these satellites at?
that's another topic. We're still stuck on the necessary antecedent
No,
for satellite TV.
it's another topic.
which is
You
cables.
brought it up.
His claim, we're quizzing him on his claim. Anything that's beyond his constant assertion that it's an antecedent when we've debunked it and he's paraphrased it back to us won't be tolerated. No further questions beyond my assertion that satellite TV, therefore satellites, that nothing else can be tolerated. Right, Ed?
He's basically saying
Cable is not satellite
if satellites
That's
were
our
real,
argument
then
that
the
defeats-
necessary antecedent for it would be that satellites were real. That's basically his argument.
No, he's saying cable's not satellite. That's his argument. That's where he ends.
Yeah.
That's his end point.
Yeah, that's
But
the
that's
end.
sidetrack.
Thanks for proving our argument.
Yes, thank you for paraphrasing back
Can
our
I say
argument.
something on it?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
No, you actually don't have an argument.
Thank you. Ed, Ed
Satellite
doesn't
dish is
realise
your
that
argument.
television. Ed doesn't realise that television signals are radio signals, and all television, all signal TV is radio. They actually can triangulate people and your position with radio signal. Sorry, with television signals. All television is signal.
I just want to know where these satellites are. That's it. At this point,
It's not going to be tolerated by him.
Yeah, but that's another topic.
It's not.
First, you have to admit
you
that.
said that before.
they are
So
necessary
the
antecedent,
place
which
where
they
these
are.
satellites are that you claim satellites and satellite TV, that's diverting.
Yeah, it's just got a question about your claim. It's not a different subject. It's
No,
very
you're
specifically.
actually going to a
muting
different
me.
topic.
Fundy muting me. It's very specifically about the claim you've made.
Can I throw something in here that will even mix it up even better? I have an HD antenna that gets 162 HD channels, and it's in my backyard, and it's a pole with all these rabbit ears.
Okay. So if rabbit ears, then rabbits?
Yeah. So if rabbit ear, necessary antecedent for my television is rabbit ears.
But also cable. Therefore,
you.
rabbit ears necessary antecedent.
Yeah, but this is satellite TV.
There's YouTube TV.
I didn't hear Ed replying to what I said.
We got Wi-Fi TV too, by the way.
Did you hear?
Oh, so it's not satellite TV.
Did Ed listen to what I said?
Just said, so it's.
Ed, did you listen to what I said?
Did you listen to
concerning
what he just said?
television signals?
He just said so, not
I'm
satellite
still
TV.
waiting for a rebuttal.
Yeah, we gave you one. We described how it's not an antecedent, and then you kept on paraphrasing
Yeah,
back
and I
how it's not
debunked
an
it.
antecedent, and then you talked through it and Fundy muted it every time it was reiterated, like now. So if there's alternative means, it's not necessary, as you put in your comment about it being necessary.
It is,
It
because
isn't.
then it's not.
You can have. And you're Fundy
This is
muting me
sad,
again.
Ed.
Fundy muting me again. Yeah, if you can have cable, then it's not necessary to have the satellite bit. Yeah, and when we point that out, you paraphrase it back to us like it's a defence. But necessary satellite bit isn't necessary.
Yeah,
you could have cable,
because then
so it's no longer
satellite
necessary.
TV.
And there you go again. You're Fundy mute. Every time we reiterate, you asked for a rebuttal, Ed, and I'm giving it you back. It's now the fourth attempt, the second set of attempts to rebut this shit. You've obviously heard it because you can paraphrase it back to us. Yeah, not necessarily satellite, could be cable. End of the argument that it's necessary to have the satellite bit, therefore not an antecedent, Ed. That's the rebuttal. Maybe paraphrase that back to me like it's a defence for the 8th time. It isn't a defence to just say, well, if it's not satellite, it's not satellite. Yeah, therefore not necessary, not an antecedent, therefore the end of your argument. Further to that, QE's asked you where the satellites you were talking about were, but you've ignored that also and said it's not relevant, even though it's specifically about your claim.
If it doesn't involve satellite TV, then it's not satellite TV. Therefore, it has nothing to do with my argument.
Therefore, it has nothing to do with your claim that it must be an antecedent and satellites. Just makes your claim wrong.
Yeah, otherwise, it wouldn't be satellite.
Yeah, therefore making your claim wrong that it's necessary.
Yeah,
it's thick as shit.
Otherwise, it's not
It's just
satellite
thick.
TV.
There's no other words for it.
Satellite TV you speak of.
At this point,
what type of signal is that?
Satellite signal.
Signal from satellites.
Yeah, what
Therefore,
type of
Make satellite TV.
The question is what type of
Otherwise,
signal?
it's not satellite TV, is it?
What type of signal is the question? Obviously, this won't be relevant because it's not directly linked to him over and over again claiming it's an antecedent when he could also have it by cable, right? But he won't answer this. He'll say it's not relevant. What's the signal type?
For satellite
This is
TV.
so dumb.
Otherwise, it's
But
not
for the
satellite
claim you're
TV.
making, yeah, Ed, for the claim we're pulling apart that you've made, yeah, for your claim, yeah, surprisingly, shockingly, we're
No, you're
asking
not
you,
ripping apart.
shockingly, you're going to mute me while I point out the retarded nature of asking and clarifying whether or not we're asking you, specifically you, about your claim that you have made. Yes, we are. Shocking, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, it's shocking that you don't understand that things that are not satellite TV have nothing to do with my argument.
We're asking about the signal type.
The signal for satellite TV.
What, with an upward inflection, like it's a shock that we're asking you? Maybe a second iteration of me pointing out that it's not a shock, it's your claim, we're specifically asking you, and the upward inflection, yeah, we are asking you, it's not a shock, it's about your claim, you unbelievable mong! Hello?
So what's your question then?
The satellite signal type, what is it? Third time, fourth if you include Brian's first question, fifth if you include you rumpusing him. Sixth rendition, maybe?
For satellite TV.
Do you want it a sixth time? Do you need it a sixth time? Brian, give it him a sixth time.
Okay, Nathan. Ed, what type of signal is satellite TV? What signal is satellite TV?
The signal they use for satellite TV
is
drum roll.
Signals
I don't care.
of satellite.
So the signal for the satellite television is satellite television signal.
Make you understand this.
Everyone else.
I said it before. This is literally beating a dead horse.
Just Brian, just Ed. So you don't know,
Sorry.
Ed.
No, I don't care.
That's the same as I don't know.
It's irrelevant.
You don't know.
I don't care. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, we care. That's why we asked, but you don't know, and therefore it's irrelevant. No, it is still relevant.
Fine,
It's
then
relevant,
go
but
look it
you
up.
don't know the answer.
Irrelevant.
Oh, okay, well, we don't know yet. Brian hasn't made a point. He just asked if you knew. You don't. He hasn't made a point.
No, I don't care.
Yeah, we know you don't care. All he was trying to ascertain was whether or not you knew what signal type it is. We've ascertained you don't. He might have a point. You're saying it's irrelevant. He hasn't made a point yet. All he's done is establish that you don't know. That's all he's done so far. The point you don't know? Yeah, what, irrelevant? Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, we know. Irrelevant. What's inside your head? Because you don't know.
Go ahead, Brian. What's your next one?
Satellite signals are microwave signals, Ed. Our television signals microwave signals.
Did you have a point to make? Because it's lost on me.
Yes, my point is that I'm trying to find out what you know about your own claim. That's the point.
The point
What
is...
is your point?
The point is...
It's completely irrelevant.
If it's microwave transmissions, and, as you claim, a necessary antecedent, then it would imply that you can only receive that type of signal from a satellite.
Otherwise, it's not sent by a satellite. Therefore, it's not satellite TV.
Okay.
Well, it does indeed. It does indeed.
Sure.
I told you guys.
Okay,
it doesn't.
No, that's
Microwave
fine.
signals can come from many places.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just a claim to be from satellites. The point I'm making is that I'm trying to find out if he... Sorry, Nathan, you're talking.
Okay, go ahead, Brian. It's your point.
No, thanks. Sorry, I didn't realise you were talking. No, the point I'm making is that microwave signals can come from many different sources. It's only claimed that these satellites have microwave signals. Television signals are not microwave signals. But even if there was microwave signals coming to satellite TV, that doesn't prove satellites. It just proves microwave signals.
So we'd need to establish what satellites are, maybe where they are. What's a satellite? Ed?
If it's not sent by a satellite, it's not satellite TV. So this is completely irrelevant.
Okay, so if it's not sent by satellite, it's not satellite TV. Okay, thank you. What is a satellite?
But we have satellite TV, therefore the necessary antecedent
We know your
is satellites.
claim. Yes, we know
Thank
your
you.
claim. Thank you. We don't need it reiterating 17 times. We understand it's been on screen. The audience can see it. Thank you. We don't need it repeating. We just need to establish what a satellite is, according to you. We're trying to define terms. That's what debate is. So what's a satellite, this thing you're claiming? What is it? You tell me it's your claim.
Oh, you don't know what a satellite is?
No, that's why I'm asking. You tell us it's your claim.
I've already told you I'm not playing this definition game. You know what a satellite is.
Well, you don't want to
Everyone here
define what
knows
things that you
what
so it's back to you're useless to us. Anything that you say isn't capable of definition. Therefore, anything you say is meaningless and pointless. That declaration basically means that we can't discuss things with you because you're unwilling, intolerant, of defining things. So when you say a Sloopelgurk proves we're on a sphere, and we go, what the hell's a Sloopelgurk? And you go, I'm not going to play your definition games. Sloopelgurks prove it. Oh, right, well, fuck you. I'd rather define what a Sloopelgurk is. And in this case, a Sloopelgurk's a satellite. You don't want to define it? Well, then fuck off.
Go ahead. Use the
No, fuck
dictionary.
off. If you don't want to define it, fuck off. Simple. It's your claim that you won't define, well, then you're a coward.
So no rebuttal then.
So what? We just have to accept a non-defined specific that you won't give us a definition for, and that's reasonable? No, it's not.
Can I say something else, Nathan? Just one more thing.
Sure.
Thanks. Ed's actual claim is that television signals are microwave transmission. That's his actual claim, but he doesn't know it, which has no connection to or to a proof or evidence for satellites. He's basically just claiming that television signals are microwave signals, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. He's begging the question of what a satellite is, and when we challenge him to say, well, what is a satellite? Give us a description of what it is. He's going to refuse because he knows that, ultimately speaking, it's going to be debunked on the premise of what he's presupposing a satellite is, and then begging the question that therefore that proves satellites. But he won't even define what a satellite is.
We have satellite TV.
Doesn't matter. What, we just got to accept this Google slurps as proving what you claim because Google slurps, right? No, that's unreasonable.
Therefore, we have satellites.
Yeah, therefore satellites. Yeah, well, what's a satellite? Not reasonable. I'm not going to define it. I'm not going to play your definition games. Yeah, we know. That's unreasonable. We've pointed that out. We've got a lot of rumpusing in between. You won't accept that it's unreasonable to not define things in debate.
I posted it for you in the Ballbuster live stream text channel.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Can anybody on the panel, can you bring it up? Excellent. Thank you very much. Finally.
Still doesn't matter though.
Well, okay, we'll find out, won't we? We'll assess that.
Go ahead.
Oh, we're going to. I'm hoping somebody
Well,
on the panel bring it
my
up because I'm
RC
clicking on the
plane-
buttons.
It doesn't matter.
My
but he posted
RC
it.
plane had a satellite transmitter and receiver.
Oh, hold on,
Does it
whoever.
mean
We've
it's
just
a
had some
satellite?
success. Sorry, Albuquerque or whatever. Sorry. Can someone on the G Plus panel just go into Discord and just dig out his definition of what a satellite is so we can have a look at it?
Tim Master B.
Master B. Excellent. Thank you, Chocolate. An object launched to orbit. Orbits are begging the question fallacy. There's a problem already with this definition.
Yeah.
It's assuming orbits.
Doesn't matter. We have satellite TV. That's
Right.
very antecedent.
This definition
It
you've
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about satellite TV. When your definition of a satellite and the fifth word into the definition is a begging the question fallacy, that's not a problem for you.
Necessary
What's an
antecedent.
orbit?
Doesn't matter.
What's an orbit?
Yeah, what's an orbit?
Necessary antecedent to your imagination, Ed. It's all in your head.
The thing though, that's why I was bringing up.
No, we actually have satellite
RC
TV.
plane had a satellite receiver and a transmitter. So does it mean it's space?
Oh, we actually have satellite TV.
It's in Ed's
so the
head.
necessary antecedent to satellite.
It's just inside Ed's head.
There you go.
Thanks, Ed.
Sorry, we
Thanks
just
for
got
telling
your
us about
definition
your
of Ed.
imagination.
No, it's the necessary antecedent.
Sorry,
not
Ed.
just in my head.
Thanks
we
for your
actually have
imagination,
satellite
Ed.
TV.
Guys, thank you. Ed, we've just brought up your definition of what a satellite is. You kept telling us that if satellites send satellites, and we're looking at what a satellite is, and it's got this assumption of a sphere Earth with things falling around it, and it's there with this word orbit. So the problem is you think a satellite is something that's falling around a sphere by presupposition. That's a problem, Ed.
Doesn't matter what I think. That's the definition, and it's the necessary antecedent for the satellite TV we have.
Wow.
So
Just try that once more.
there you go.
Yes, thank you. The definition includes a begging the question fallacy, an assumption of a sphere Earth with objects falling around it. Maybe try and listen to what I've said and actually maybe
Irrelevant.
acknowledge it rather than talk through it at the end. So can you acknowledge It utilizes this assumption of items falling around a sphere by way of this word orbit. Maybe address that?
That's the whole point. They're the necessary antecedent. So there you go.
What's the necessary antecedent for what?
For satellite TV. Otherwise, it's not satellite TV.
Yeah, but your
and we have
definition of
TV.
satellite itself has a begging the question
Therefore,
fallacy
they're the necessary
in the
antecedent.
definition.
Sorry, Chocolate, he's decided to
doesn't
censor
care.
you. Sorry, Chocolate, he decided halfway through your sentence that he was going to censor you by
I
repeating
was
something
actually
we have.
still
Now he's
talking.
censoring me. Now he's censoring me. So by repeating something that we have heard no less than 17 occasions from him, he thought that it was necessary to repeat that which we have heard 17 times through the top of you to censor you. So maybe try again, Chocolate. We'll see if he censors you again.
Ed, you're saying satellites exist, right? Your definition of the word satellite has the word orbit in it. You have yet to prove what that is.
No. I don't need
Are you
scientific
going to
evidence.
now
It's
say
a
that now
necessary
that's irrelevant,
antecedent.
being that that word is in the
It's like a
definition of the
container.
word
I
that you're
don't
fighting
need
for?
scientific evidence. It's the necessary antecedent.
We heard
You
that.
sound like Dr.
What
Seuss
if
said.
your necessary antecedent doesn't
That's funny,
exist,
yeah.
as you've displayed now? Because this orbit thing is a begging the question fallacy. So
Just like
prove the
with the
orbit,
container,
which
it's
would
the
prove the
necessary
satellite, and then we could talk
antecedent,
about
and
the
I don't
satellite's
need
orbit.
scientific evidence.
Let's
Actually
see if we can
prove
hear.
that we need a container.
Try with Chocolate again,
The
maybe
only
without hearing.
necessary antecedent is the signal.
Guys in Discord, I just want to hear Chocolate once without hearing antecedent blah 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 over the top of him. We've heard that from you, Ed. Thank you. I don't need it a 19th time through Chocolate. I thought I just made that clear. Try again, Chocolate.
Let me know when you're done.
When he's mid-sentence, Ed, now you've asked that question, I'll berate you for your stupidity. When he's in the middle of saying something, that is not when he is finished. Also, it would be impossible for him to highlight that he's still talking. Anyone who's not retarded, mentally handicapped, would recognise that mid-sentence, somebody is actually mid-sentence. That goes without saying.
No, there were a few long pauses in there. That's why.
Really? Ed, what's an orbit? Hello?
Make your point. Go ahead.
He asked a question. What's an orbit?
I asked a question. I wasn't making a point. What's
No,
an
you
orbit?
got a point to make, right? So go ahead,
It's in
make
the
your point.
definition you've sent us. We asked you to define what a satellite was. In the definition that you've cited, it has the word orbit. Chocolate's asking what that is.
Make your point. Go ahead.
It's a question based on the citation
I'll
you've
wait.
given us. I'll say it again. It's the third rendition of the same exact reply. You have cited what a satellite is. It includes the word orbit. Chocolate isn't making a point. He is asking you, based on your citation for your claim, what orbit is.
Oh, okay. Well, you can check the dictionary. I'll
It's
wait
your
for
claim.
someone to make
It's a
point.
burden of proof reversal fallacy. It's your claim. We're asking you. It's your claim. You've cited it. No, we're not going to look it up for you. We'd like you to define it, like when we asked you to define satellite. So what, 10 minutes of this before you dig out what orbit is? Your claim. What's orbit?
I don't understand why you're struggling. So it's the fifth word in your definition. This should be this. Your whole argument has been about satellites. Then you finally define the satellite. I'm asking you about a word in your definition of said satellite. What is an orbit, Ed?
I'm still waiting for someone to make an argument.
We're asking a question about your argument. You're the one making a claim, and we're quizzing you on your claim and your citation for your claim based on what a satellite is. We've got the definition up. It's been up for the audience for quite a considerable period of time. Fifth word, orbit. What does that mean? It's your claim, your citation. We're asking you.
You think this tactic makes you guys look good?
Not at all. I'm loving it. I've kept the show going.
Ed, what's an orbit, Ed?
If you don't have a point to make, then can someone else?
It's your
try?
point, it's your claim. So if you don't have a point to make, should we take this shite off screen and move on from your nonsense that you're trying to claim? It's your point. It's not us that hasn't got a point to make.
My
It's your
argument
claim.
still stands.
It's your claim, your point. So you don't have a point then, Ed. So should we take this off screen and move on to someone else?
No, I know.
So you don't have a point.
My argument still stands.
So you don't have a point. We're trying to ascertain what your point is, what you're claiming. Orbit, mate, what is it?
Doesn't sound like you're very confident in your point, whatever it may be.
You don't understand what an orbit is, do you?
There's another dictionary definition for you in the text chat.
You don't know what an orbit is, do you?
No, there's another dictionary definition for you in the text chat.
Of orbit? Of orbit? Yes, Nathan, it's of orbit. The thing you've asked me about 9 times. Yeah, it is, yeah. Is it a definition of orbit? 10 more times. Is it a definition of orbit? 9 more times, maybe.
Are you that scared to look in the chat? Holy shit.
I'm asking you, yes or no, given that we've asked you about 11 times what an orbit is what you're citing in the text chat a definition of orbit, yes or no?
No shit, Sherlock.
No shit, Sherlock. No shit it is, no shit it isn't. Yes or no? Is it a definition of orbit, yes or no?
Yep, it is. Give me 1 second.
I can't believe how scared you are to
Okay,
put Discord on
he's
screen.
posted it in Master B. I put it in Master B.
Thank you very much.
Took you 20 minutes to put it there. You're saying we're scared.
Right.
This describes.
No, you're
the-
actually just
Yeah, we've got it
pretty
down there.
lazy that you can't even use
You're
a
a
dictionary.
delusional numpty dipshit.
Quite
Everyone
sad.
knows it. You're not cloaked. You think you're clever? You're a fucking retard, and everyone knows it. Hello, McFly.
So what's your argument?
Sorry, the argument was that the word orbit begs the question and assumes an object falling around a spherical Earth, and that
No,
is
it
very
doesn't.
much.
It's a
I'm
necessary
talking, Ed.
antecedent.
Please don't censor me. Do I have to beg you not to censor me? Yeah.
Yep.
I'll try and just go through it. You've asked, I'm trying to answer, but you're censoring me, Ed. I'll try again, yeah? Share your pain. So, the definition of orbit...
Oh, I'm not.
Share your pain. Censor me a bit more, coward. I'll try and rip you a new asshole when you're ready.
I'm not in pain.
Yeah, it's okay. You share your pain. You ready?
Yeah, pain.
You
I'm
ready?
not in pain, buddy. Go ahead.
I'll wait till you've calmed
Go
down,
ahead,
Ed.
I'm listening.
I've got your definition up on screen.
Oh,
I'll wait.
very calm. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So my objection when you had the definition of satellite up was that the word orbit, as I already explained to you, is an affirming the consequent or a begging the question fallacy when defined as such. A path described by one orbit in its revolution about another. So that would be to assume that a satellite is in a path that is revolving around a sphere Earth. That's an assumption of a body falling around a sphere. Precisely the objection I raised is literally the definition of orbit, Ed.
It's the necessary antecedent, so your
Is
objection
that
is
it?
irrelevant.
That's the same thing you said to every single rebuttal we've given so far. Is that the only thing you can power it off in this particular debate, Ed? Because it's the same thing you've said for every objection so far?
Yeah, so it's the same argument for the container, so...
This is an argument about orbit. Your assumption that a satellite is something that falls around a spherical body. By definition, that's what orbit is. It's an assumption that it's falling around a sphere.
That's the necessary antecedent.
That's the same thing you said for every other objection. So that is literally all you have. Like a, what do they call it? A one-trick pony.
Doesn't matter what you call it, you don't have an argument against it.
Doesn't even know the trick.
I win.
So orbit begs the
I don't
question.
need another trick. That's
Your
how
satellites. Your
sad
satellites.
this is, actually.
You're assuming your satellite's falling around a sphere, Ed, by this word orbit.
Now, you claim to have all this knowledge, but you can't even debunk.
You're not
a
really
simple
listening to me,
statement.
are you, Ed?
That's
You're just
cute.
censoring this. It's the summary of your
really have
death
nothing.
here.
You're,
Yeah,
you're the
censoring
one
it.
literally saying a begging the question fallacy is the necessary antecedent to your argument.
Necessary
Yeah.
antecedent, actually. There's no backing
You're
the
a
question
retard,
whatsoever.
essentially. Like all the globetards. All the globies. I know it's a stereotype fallacy, but you're all essentially retarded. We all know this. We've been listening to you for 4 years now, some 5 years. You're essentially pretender clown retards. Dunning-Kruger, clinical level. That's what you are.
Right, so what's your argument?
Right, that's right. Every time.
Explained it to you.
Like today.
We've explained.
Like right now, where you can't answer simple questions. You have fucking ball-tard Tourette's. You just say necessary antecedent, satellite. Necessary antecedent, satellite. You don't even know what a necessary antecedent is, and you don't know what a fucking satellite is. You're a retard.
So what's your argument?
Wasn't it also him that said the word necessary was irrelevant?
When you describe the thing that's necessary as an antecedent, and then the definition of the thing you're assuming has an orbital path, that's an assumption that the item you're describing is falling around a sphere. That's the notion you're trying to prove here, Ed. Therefore, that's the textbook definition of a begging the question fallacy. You're assuming that which you are trying to prove, and the way you're doing it is with this word orbit. Orbit assumes the very premise that you'd need to prove a satellite is taking this orbit. Yeah, you're just assuming it by using the word orbit.
Can you have satellite TV without a satellite?
Can you have an orbit? What's
You
an orbit?
can.
How can you have an orbit? It's describing this body falling
Can
around
you
a
have
spherical
satellite
surface.
TV
But
without
seem to
a
be censoring
satellite?
me again, Ed. Censoring me while I make my point.
Can you
again.
have a satellite without an orbit? Can you have an orbit without a spherical Earth?
You're not
Which part
answering.
did you? Which
Can
part
you
did you
have
prove?
satellite TV without
did
a
you
satellite?
prove? Did you prove the spherical Earth in order for you to prove the orbit?
No, just
and then you could prove the
Can you have
satellite after that.
satellite TV without a satellite? Yep.
You've made, we know your claim. It's the 20th time you've repeated it through Chocolate and us and everyone else. We've heard it about 20 times. You're literally like a stuck record. Tourette's, as QE just put it. You seem to be parroting the same thing off verbatim now, over the top of every single consistent reply that demolishes your nonsense assertion. We're pointing out how you've begged the question. The thing you're trying to prove is that we've got a globe Earth vacuum, and you've got this word orbit that assumes all of it. It just assumes a spherical surface with things falling around it. Well, that's not proving a sphere, it's just assuming the sphere and assuming things fall around it. How is it doing that? Well, with this word orbit. We've pointed it out to you 20 odd times. The rebuttal we get is necessary antecedent.
Can you have satellite TV without
Your
satellites?
satellite is what, a hot air balloon? So
it's got ball of Tourette's. He's ignoring every word we've said. We've pointed out his question about can you have satellite TV without satellites. We've ascertained what a satellite is. We've ascertained that a definition of a satellite is that it's in an orbit, and that an orbit is assuming a spherical surface with things falling around it. It's in no way proving we're on a sphere. It's merely begging the question. And the reply is to reassert his shitty claim that we've spent the last half an hour ripping to shreds with a constant barrage of 20 repetitions of the same exact claim over the top of every concise response. That's all we've got from them.
Well,
so
this
no
has lasted long enough.
No argument.
Mr. Ed,
why are you talking?
This has lasted long enough. The only thing you've proven, Mr. Ed, is that you know what a one-trick pony is.
His last response was, so no reply then. Yeah, we've replied. We've taken apart the begging the question fallacy that is orbits. The assumption of an orbit when you describe what a satellite is. We've pointed out that you've constantly fundy muted and censored every single rebuttal. All of them have been taken through step by step with stages with your definitions for your claim. You've had nothing. We've had to drag you along by your short hairs. Literally all you've done is parrot off antecedent consequent just like a container. No, it isn't. It's not necessary at all. Not required one little slightest bit. You could be using satellites for satellite TV. You could also use cable. So no, you just nonsense shit spreading with a constant barrage of nonsense over the top of the rebuttals, which have been gone through in detail.
Cable TV, Lite TV, so you're wrong.
Orbit, satellite, the thing you're claiming and talking about has got a presupposed spherical motion around a sphere called an orbit. You're going to address that? That's the end. That's the last rebuttal we've got to. It's on screen. It's been on for a while. It's your definition that you cited.
Can you have satellite TV?
It's the same. Tourette's. He's asking me if I can have satellite TV without satellite. We've ascertained what a satellite is based on your claim. We've ascertained that the definition of a satellite, based on the question you've asked for the 21st time, is in a presupposed orbit. Now I'm asking if you can address that, or can you only parrot off for the 22nd time the claim we're addressing based on your citations? Is that all you can do? Do you literally have Tourette's?
So, the question?
No, not the question. The rebuttal that we're asking you to reply to. Orbit, begging the question fallacy, mate.
Yeah. If it's not satellite TV, then it's...
That's the same as the claim that you've said 20
the
seconds
question
time.
fallacy.
Yeah, we've pointed out you're begging the question with the word orbit. You're yet to address that. You just keep parroting off the original claim we're addressing.
Say it again.
Because you're not answering. Can you have satellite TV without satellites?
Begging the question fallacy.
That's the rebuttal, is that it's a begging the question fallacy. We've detailed it at great length.
Yeah, you keep parroting that, but...
No, we don't parrot it. We've taken your definition. Prior to you giving me the definition on screen of orbit, my objection to satellites was that they were in a presupposed spherical path falling around a sphere. The definition of orbit is exactly that. My rebuttal.
Okay, so can you have satellite TV without satellites?
It's in an assumed begging the question orbit.
I don't know if you've noticed, he's asking without a satellite.
A satellite is
not with
an
one.
Assumed spherical path
There's
in orbit.
Mr.
That's a begging the
Helper.
question fallacy. We've pointed that out. He's just yet to address
Yeah.
it.
So if that doesn't happen, so if we don't have that, then what's the alternative? How do we have satellite TV without a satellite?
It's the same dude. That's a burden.
You guys
of
sound like
proof.
They sound like Dr. Seuss. When we
Reversal.
have a
He's
small
talking to
about
me.
Snorlax.
Hello. Same guy as last time, I assume. So you're asking me to prove how his claim works? That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy.
He's not claiming, he's asking you a question.
Sorry, his claim is satellites. It comes with the begging
No,
the
he's
question.
asking you
Excuse me, I'm
without
talking.
satellites.
Excuse me.
Try again.
Excuse me. Don't censor me. His claim is satellites, not mine. His claim comes with a begging the question fallacy of orbits. That's not my claim. So you're asking me to justify how this all works? That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy, my friend.
No,
Unless
because
you
have
want to
an answer.
validate
You can have
orbits.
satellite TV without satellites.
We've heard that 23 times. I'm going to remove Ed from the conversation.
Yeah, begging the question fallacy. Who's Mr. Helper?
Oh, about time.
Yeah, Mr. Helper, you've used the fallacy that you used last time and then ran away. Hello? One trick pony? You seem to have gone silent again. What gives?
He's gone again. Bye-bye.
Run away! What's going on? Dude, do you not want to back your point that you've just tried to use? That I should be defending how satellites work?
It's funny how the wingmen run away quickly.
Yeah, man, these white knights are total cowards.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, literally, that's it. So reverse the burden of proof, have it pointed out, and then run away.
Very sad.
Reverse the burden of proof fallacy. If you're listening out there, hello, essay. We don't need to provide replacement to pummel your horse shit. Are you listening, son? Essay. Yeah, what a coward, man.
It's worth giving clarity, though, for the audience's benefit. So if somebody comes up with a just so story about how the stars work, you don't need to come up with an alternative just so story to absolutely pummel their claim and pull it to pieces. So in this instance, we've got a claim, satellites, begs the question, assumes they're in a spherical orbit around a sphere Earth that they're trying to prove. Yep, therefore making their claim void. Yeah. We don't have to then justify how satellites work. It's not our claim. I'm not claiming satellites prove anything. I've never mentioned satellites prior to this dude coming on and claiming they prove something. With a 23 repetition of satellites prove satellites. What, prove you're begging the question fallacy of orbits? That's not relevant. Well, what, should we do that for the next 4 hours? With the fundy guy with Tourette's? No, it's totally unreasonable.
The sad thing is Ed still don't get it.
And one last call
Too
to the
much
White
pain.
Knight. White Knight. Hello? Didn't see who it was again. Did anybody else catch who that was?
No, I jumped in there too late. He didn't follow up his second sentence. Anyone in Discord know who said that?
What's going on with you people in Discord? Do I gotta go back over there to catch these dudes?
Get him, Neil.
Who said it?
Who?
Yeah, I think it was that Gongle guy.
Dongle?
Gongle?
He's definitely gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he'll get berated next time we see him. With that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!